you want to hold that other spot for somebody for you and still do the twosome, that's up to you.
Chris had a really good suggestion, actually. Maybe play with turnip seed, make it a five-some.
Oh, he's
Playing with the two guys from last year.
I don't remember who that was. I have no idea who that was. I don't remember at all.
Don't we have a record?
Both in California and across the country. California's average price for a gallon of regular went up by it is now at $4.64 according to Gas Buddy. Gas prices were upward trend before the airstrikes against Iran and speculation that Iran would block some oil exports from leaving the Middle East, which would make the price of crude oil go up to more than $70 a barrel and eventually affect gas prices. He says it's to protect the community and put residents first. The mayor of Delano has proposed from entering city property. Mayor Salvador Solori requested that proposed ordinance be put on the agenda for the next city council meeting at last night's meeting. He says he believes that it will help keep Latino agents who may be looking for them. He plans to finish out his current term, but Kern County Treasurer and Tax Collector Jordan Kaufman says he will not seek re-election after serving for 31 years. Kaufman says he is endorsing Assistant Kern County Treasurer and Tax Collector James Sterling, who announced his candidacy. I'm Chris Davis of the KERN Newsroom. It goes every half hour at 28 breaks on FM 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
42 KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good afternoon to you, wherever you may be, however you may be listening, or however you may be viewing. For those subscribing on YouTube, it's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. We're streaming live at KERNradio.com. We had a great show today on this third day of March, our anniversary. Our anniversary.
It's our anniversary.
It's our anniversary. Anniversary. Do you know what today is? It's our anniversary. Anniversary. 13 years. Do you know what today is? It's our anniversary. Anniversary. 13 years. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it? Certainly not management. It was a great time in my life. It really was. I'd spent 9 years with Buckley Radio and was completely satisfied despite the fact that I wasn't making any money at all, hardly. And I really didn't want to leave, to be honest with you. And then the general manager left. Well, first Rick Buckley died. The son of the man that started Buckley Radio, which goes all the way back. You know, they owned WOR at one point in New York, which is a very substantial radio station. And Rick would fly out from New York on occasion and absolutely adored me for some reason, because I had a television background, and I don't know, for some reason, just absolutely adored me. And I got along extremely well with our general manager, Steve Darnell, who changed my career. I had never been any place, you know, I had a checkered, looking back on it, you just don't realize I had a really checkered employment. I finished Cal State in '94, and I started working to California as a correspondent. Then got hired as a staff writer and got whacked within a month because they thought that I was lying about the suspension of my license, which occurred because I had been in an automobile accident in LA. And the woman found out that the car wasn't registered Ralph Bailey Jr. It was registered to Ralph Bailey MD. And her $1,500, what do you call it when you get a car assessed, Chris? Her $1,500 assessment, or I don't know. Chris is busy. I gave him way too much audio to cut today. But her assessment of her car went from $1,500 when she found out it was Ralph Bailey MD to $7,500. And I just told the lady, $7,500? You really think from a guy that's making $250 a week has got $7,500? And so I jilted her basically, and she got a judgment against me. And unbeknownst to me, my license had been suspended, and the California thought I was lying about it, so they fired me. And 2 weeks later, I got hired by Ron Feynman and was doing television for 3 years, got whacked there. Was fortunate enough that within 2 weeks, I had a job at KBAK because the weekend anchor there, I was a weekend anchor at 23, the weekend anchor at 29, got a job in Dallas right when I got whacked. And so I barely interviewed. I just met Kevin Andrus. I didn't even have to send a tape. He said, "We've seen your work." And I worked at 29 for 3 years, got whacked again. And then said, "Screw this! I'm gonna." Then by just sheer luck, Karen Porphyry, the wife of Chris Townsend, aka Chris Porphyry, was a fan of mine on television. And why does JR like this thing like almost on the table? I'm too ugly to have this thing so tight. I'm not 45 years old. You know what I'm saying? But anyway. And Chris, her husband, was trying to start a morning show for Buckley Radio. And she said, "Well, you know that black guy we like? He just got whacked." And I mean, imagine if she hadn't been paying attention and noticed that I was gone, or maybe assumed that I moved. But I don't know whether she called the station, but she knew that I got whacked. And 2 weeks later, I was in their studios doing radio, got whacked again. We did a 5 to 9 morning show, got whacked after 2 years. That was a classic one where Randy, I thought it was a friend of mine, watched me pack my stuff, literally came into my office and watched me pack my stuff. So what could have taken 5 minutes, I stretched in about 35, 40 minutes. Just because like, what am I gonna steal, a stapler? So I was just like, so then I said, screw this radio thing. I'm just gonna get back into the news. And I was the news director at Clear Channel, got whacked again after 2 years there. And I was good friends with the operations manager, and he said, Buckley Radio is looking for an afternoon guy. And so I went and interviewed with them and spent 9 years with them. Steve Darnell was my guy who just told me, I will never fire you for ratings. All you have to do is help me fill my satchel every year that I send to Rick Buckley, and I will never fire you for ratings. And that kind of released me, I think. And I started just telling stories more than just trying to find guests. Because when I did the morning show, I would go through this stupid magazine that radio people get. I think it's called Radio and TV. And they have these crazy, crazy guests, which I started to like because I finally caught on and would get these kooky guests on and make fun of them. Like we had a woman that came on and said that John Wayne was actually 5'9". I swear to God, it's a true story. And so the whole 15, 20 minutes, it was me just saying, really? And just making fun of the woman. And was there for 9 years, was happy. And Mr. Brandon called me and we met secretly at El Torito's. And that was 13 years ago. And those 2 weeks between me leaving, because I made a mistake and went on Facebook and said goodbye to the Buckley Radio listeners, but I didn't say where I was going. And the Californians always hated me ever since they whacked me, and I talked smack about them. So they wrote this big article about how I got whacked at Buckley Radio, which just wasn't true. So then the next day, other stations were calling me, and I announced that I'm coming here, and they followed me for like 2 days. I did one interview with 17 in the parking lot of Bill Lee's because I had 2 weeks off. I was coming here in 2 weeks. And I did one interview in the parking lot of Bill Lee's. I did another interview with 23 at the parking lot of Casey's Steakhouse. And it was a great period of my life. I finally felt wanted. I had almost doubled my salary. I, at that time, had a contract, but that's all I'll say. And was as happy as I could be. That was 13 years ago. Now look at me, I'm miserable. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Love my gig. 3 to 6 is my favorite time of the afternoon. Actually, 7 to 11 is my favorite time of the day. Just trying to figure out what we're going to talk about, what we're going to do. But it's been a happy 13 years. It's amazing. And I want to thank J.R. Flores and Chris Burdick and a bunch of other numbskull producers that I went through. One that quit like 10 minutes before the show. Have you ever heard that story?
I think you've told me this one before.
The guy quit 10 minutes before the show. And I got yelled at by management because he was incompetent, he was lazy, and he was stupid. And I remember getting in an argument with our former operations manager. I was like, you're yelling at me? You wanted a guy to stay here who'd be willing to, who quits 10 minutes before he's supposed to go on the air? And that's the kind of guy you wanted to keep? Like, if that's the kind of character you have, like, even I would like do the show and then quit, you know, but just to walk out 10 minutes before the show. And I got yelled at for that, actually. But overall, it's been a great 13 years. And now we're on our 4th year of the golf tournament. Hope you'll sign up for that. honorflightopen.com. I think yesterday I said honorflightopen.org. It's honorflightopen.com. But it is our anniversary. I'm driving crazy today.
I don't have it anymore either. I took it
Oh,
back.
damn, dude, I want to run it all day. Are you kidding?
All day.
Oh, I want to run it all day. Oh, no. We're going to run that 5-6 times. It's our anniversary. All right, let's go ahead and take a break. We come back. Speaking of audio, I've got some great audio. Chris is still working on it. I sent him so much audio. There'll be no audio tomorrow. The only voices you will hear tomorrow will be Jennifer and Ryan Van Alstyne, Mr. Marcus, and Mr. Bailey. Because I gave him a ton of audio today. But it's our anniversary. Do you know what today is? It's our anniversary. Anniversary. By the way, these are appropriate artists because all 3 of these men, Tony, I know you never heard of them. For the Caucasian members of our group, there are 3 men, all named Tony, who were part of a chorus at their college. And what college did they attend? All 3 of them. Chris Burdick?
Morehouse?
No, they went to Cal State. Of course they went to Morehouse. Anniversary. Morehouse, man. True story. All 3 were in the Morehouse chorus. They became friends. They started a trio. And what would you say? Are you hip to these guys?
I mean,
What would you say? 5-hit wonder? They weren't really a 1-hit wonder. They had a couple of hits. And then Bermuda Triangle. All right, we're running late. Let's get started. We'll come back, and I've got TMZ has released, and several agencies have released the audio of Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton's depositions. And as the late Jackie Gleason used to say, trust me, this ought to be rich. Wait till you hear this. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. It's our anniversary.
News Talk
It's our
96.1.
anniversary.
yo, Casey.
You got one?
Weekdays at 2 p.m.
Are you serious right now? You certainly don't go by first lady. You choose first partner. And you're going to talk to us about protecting women? You want to talk about protecting women? Let's start with our girls right here in the state of California and protecting them in sports. You want us to ask questions about women and protecting women? How about that question?
Weekdays at 2 p.m. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
You know, oddly, one of the things that I rarely talk about at Casey's Steakhouse is lunch. If you work downtown, if you work for the county or wherever on Truxton, it's not very far and it's real quick and it's very convenient. And the menu is similar, just smaller portions, and it is outstanding. And the variety on the menu that Chef Daniel has put together now is simply unbelievable. It's mostly a large groups that come to Casey's Steakhouse. Not everybody's feeling red meat. to celebrate someone's birthday or an anniversary or whatever the event may be. And that's why Chef Daniel has advanced the menu. So there's Italian food. I love the fettuccine Alfredo with chicken. The lobster mac and cheese is everybody's favorite. The fish dishes, the mahi-mahi, the swordfish, the halibut. Where would you rather be than on F Street? And don't forget about the Stockyard next door for meetings, banquets, or just having dinner and having some of the craft cocktails that are served next door. It's Casey's Steakhouse, longtime sponsors of the Ralph Bailey
This
Show.
is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost, month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-274-5104 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-274-5104. That's 800-274-5104. What do you have to lose? Call 800-274-5104. Again, 800-274-5104.
Are the rising waters of expenses and debt threatening to drown you? Many people try to stay afloat by borrowing more money or using debt settlement programs, but those can take years. If you're trapped under credit card debt, medical bills, payday loans, or buy now, pay later plans, Chapter 7 bankruptcy could free you much sooner, in about 4 months, and for a fraction of the cost. Stop the harassing calls and letters, rebuild your credit quickly, and clear the way for a fresh start. At Clean Slate BK Group, consumer Chapter 7 bankruptcies are all we do. We can help you erase credit card debt, medical bills, personal loans, even past due utility bills. Find out if you qualify at no cost and with no obligation. Go to csbk.com. This is an attorney advertisement. Your results may vary, and prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome. Clean Slate BK Group PC, located at 7 Penn Plaza, Suite 601, New York, 10001, is responsible for the content of this app. For more information, visit csbk.com. That's csbk.com. Your clean slate starts here.
The Armstrong and Getty Show, weekdays noon to 2 on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180.
Dude, I did that in the grocery store.
KERN. Now, back to the Ralph Bailey Show.
You know, one of the things that I'm proud of, there are two things that I'm proud of, despite my checkered inability to keep a job in my mid-30s and 40s. Of the 4 companies that fired me, 3 of them rehired me. 23 whacked me when I was a weekend anchor. And when I was at Buckley Radio, they rehired me. I was doing, some of you might remember my 2-minute tape. They would sit me in the middle of the newsroom, and it drove them crazy because I would dress like this. Because I was telling them, I want to dress like a radio talk show. So I don't want to look like another reporter with a shirt and tie. I wore a shirt and tie for 5 years on television, and I want to look like a radio talk show host. And I would do a 2-minute where it would go back and forth, and it would ultimately come to bite me because when I got my DUI, the general manager still wanted me to show up that day. And one of my best friends at the time, Todd Carley, had to question me, and I'll never forget because I will never forgive him. He asked me, holy Toledo. Okay, I concede. Randy and I have a bet that this woman that circles our building is pregnant. And I've been saying for months she's not. But now that it's warm and she's not wearing anything moo-moo-ish. Yeah, she's pregnant. You're right. I'll give it to you. Glad I didn't fit any money on that.
Randy says KC's on you.
That's fine. That's fine. I got a little trade. And Todd asked me, Ralph, what do you think? What kind of punishment do you think you should get? And I was like, you son of a bitch. Like, what am I supposed to say? That they should throw the book at me. I should be underneath the jail. They rehired me. The Californian rehired me. I did a column for them after they whacked me. So it couldn't have been that bad of an employee. And Kane, Buckley Radio rehired me. They fired me when I was doing a morning show, and then they rehired me years later. to do my 3 to 6 show, and I was there for 9 years. So it couldn't have been that. That's why I don't mind talking about it. You say, why would you talk about getting fired? Because 3 of the 4 stations rehired me. So it couldn't have been that bad. You know what I'm saying? In the meantime, talking about me, I was going to take the whole day and just talk about me. You know why? Driving me nuts all day long. Come on, man. You got to be ready. I got to be able to say,
I was waiting
you know
to
why?
say it.
Anniversary. I even got a text message from a friend wishing me a happy anniversary. So I was going to do the whole show about me, but this Clinton audio is just too good. This is the first one. This is Hillary. This is the best of the bunch. I'm leading with it, where she gets into it. There are pictures with her. Remember, her stance is never met Jeffrey Epstein. And this is the thing I don't understand about the Epstein thing. Everybody's lying. Larry Summers, the guy that had to back away from Harvard, lied. Casey Wasserman, the guy that is leading LA 28, the Olympic committee, he lied. Everybody's lying about this. Bill Clinton, I think you're going to find out, is lying. And Hillary lied. She's in 2 different pictures with him. He was invited to the White House. He was at their daughter's wedding. And you're telling me that Jeffrey Epstein, who was a mover and player, never met the first lady, never met Hillary Clinton? That's just unbelievable. Here she is going at it, I believe, with Lauren Boebert, who produced pictures of her with Jeffrey Epstein. And Hillary didn't take it too well.
There are photos that are being released of the secretary as she is testifying from inside this room. Can you please advise me as to whether or not that rules?
That's Hillary's lawyer.
Given that we have asked for a public hearing, if there are photos that are being released of the secretary as she is testifying, can you please explain how
I'm done with this. If you guys are doing that, I am done. You can hold me in contempt from now until the cows come home. This is just typical behavior.
We will go off the record.
Oh, for heaven's
So I would like to understand how that's permissible.
It doesn't matter. We all are abiding by the same rules.
I will take that down.
Yeah,
So I
well,
would like to take a break at this moment.
yeah,
I'd like to have
I'm
a
done
conversation.
for now.
Go off the record. Go off.
That's Lauren Boebert who came up with the pictures. We've got a lawyer coming in here about 5 minutes, but I don't know what the issue was really, but it was just fun to watch her go nuts. Here's number 2. This is regarding the picture of Bill in the hot tub.
When you saw photos of your husband in a hot tub laying on a beach and getting massaged by involved in some of these trips and these
Opinions. I'm here to answer specific questions to
and these photos of young women being massaged, what went through your mind?
I am not going to speculate.
You didn't have any feelings about young women massaging your husband.
I am not going to offer opinions or speculation, anything that I have no context for and was not there.
Of course you weren't. Bill didn't take you with
After
him.
you learned that Jeffrey Epstein was convicted of sex crimes with kids, did any of these photos of your husband with women being massaged on the beach that concern you?
I have no context for even answering that question. And I think, obviously the innuendo, all the rest of it.
I'm asking a black and white question. I'm not putting any leading statements into it or adjectives. Did you do anything to determine what was happening in those images or on those trips that once you saw these photos, once you realized Jeffrey Epstein was a convicted sex offender of children, did you do anything to determine what was happening on these trips with your husband?
I don't find any of your questions to be relevant to the investigation.
Well, it is relevant if a former president was traveling.
I have a chance to talk to him tomorrow.
Threw him under the bus. Well, don't ask me, ask him. I wasn't on the plane. I wasn't in hot tubs with women. I've got 2 more. We're not going to have time. This is number 3. That was Nancy Mace from my daddy's home state of South Carolina. And this is more of Nancy Mace, where she and Hillary really get into it. Because remember, Nancy Mace is a survivor of sexual abuse as well.
And then how do you know Howard Lutnick?
I know Howard Lutnick because when I was senator on 9/11, the firm he headed, Cantor Fitzgerald, suffered the greatest loss of life. As I recall, something like 650 of his employees were murdered by terrorists that day.
9/11.
Howard
she referred
Lutnick
to.
missed being a victim because he was delayed dropping
know
his
that.
child
Yes,
off to
yeah.
kindergarten. You asked the question. I'm going to answer your question.
Now you're gonna yell
This
at
was
me?
what I spent
You're
my
going to yell at
time
me.
doing.
I'm a
I
survivor
spent
trying to look out for other
Well,
survivors trying to
and I was taking care of
waited
the
6
people
months
who
to
lost.
get here. And now you're being
At the World
defiant
Trade
and
Center.
indignant today.
You asked.
Epstein survivors. I'm a survivor myself. You have emails. You denied that Jeffrey Epstein, that you tried to get Jeffrey Epstein to give money to you.
I did
but
not.
Howard Lutnick was.
If you have an email with me asking Jeffrey
I
Epstein
have
for
an
money,
email from Howard Lutnick sending it to Jeffrey Epstein and his people to
I
raise
don't-
money
I
for
don't
you
know
for
about-
an event, an intimate event for you at his offices
Well,
at Cantor Fitzgerald. You're going to sit here
if you
today
if you
and,
let me finish,
obfuscate and say to this committee, you didn't try to get money from Jeffrey
I didn't.
Epstein when
I
there was an
didn't.
intimate event in an email that Howard Lutnick emailed to Epstein's people and Epstein to get him to come to your intimate event at Cantor Fitzgerald, a very small event. And so I'm not going to public. You want to yell at me? That's fine, but I'll yell right back.
Well,
okay? I am looking out for
it's
survivors.
very-
I'm doing the job that you would not do and refuse to do as Secretary of State. Thank you, and I yield back to
No,
Congresswoman.
I'm going to finish answering the question, which I have a right to do. I am very sympathetic to your personal situation. I have read about it. I have seen you testify or speak on the floor about it. And I very much sympathize.
All
with
right,
not only what
that's
you-
enough. We got the meat of that. We've got some more we'll get to later in the program. Wait till you hear Bill. Wait till you hear Bill, where basically he says everybody, including a dead woman, are a bunch of liars. And he's telling the truth. Despite the fact that he lied about Paula Jones, he lied about Jennifer Flores, he lied about Monica Lewinsky, he lied about Catherine Willey, he denied the Monica Lewinsky thing that finally exploded in his face. And Arkansas, what do you call that? Arkansasians? People who live in Arkansas will tell you that he's got a black adult child running around in Arkansas, Little Rock. Quick time out. Teresa Goldner joins us next.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Good afternoon, Judge.
News. I'm Keith Peters
Great, thank
in
you.
Washington. The midterm elections officially begin with primaries in Texas, North Carolina, and Arkansas. As war with Iran breaks out, Democrats and Republicans are figuring out who they want to lead their party into November's general election, when control of Congress and state houses around the country will be up for grabs. The most hotly contested races of the day are in Texas, with fierce competition on both sides for U.S. Senate nominations. Israel stepped up airstrikes on Iranian missile launchers and a nuclear research site, and Iran retaliated against Israel and across the Gulf region, disrupting energy supplies and travel. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 403 points, the Nasdaq dropped 232, the S&P declined 65. More details at SRNnews.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
God wants to come back
From the
to work.
KERN newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
I'm Chris Davis. In Delano, the mayor says an ice-free zone should exist on
Oh, yeah, I
city
talk about
property.
it every day.
Mayor Salvador Solorio Ruiz
I talk
has
about it every
proposed an
day.
ordinance to ban federal agents from
I'll try
entering
to stay
city
positive.
property. He has asked that it be put on the agenda for the next council meeting. The murder trial for Salvador Navarro Razo has been postponed for now, with a new hearing scheduled for next week. He's accused of using a stick to beat to death his girlfriend, Angelica Fernandez, inside their trailer in 2024 after a fight over money. Kern County Treasurer and Tax Collector Jordan Kaufman says he will not seek re-election after serving for 31 years. He's endorsed Assistant Treasurer and Tax Collector Chase Nunnally. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on FM 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
We've all been there, sleepless nights, wondering if your business's security service is really protecting what matters. At Bay Alarm, we can put your security insecurities to bed. Our advanced technology and personalized support ensure you can rest easy knowing we're here for you. BayAlarm.com.
Start your day right. First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Wednesday edition of the First Look program, we'll talk a little medicine with our friend Dr. Vip Dev. John Cox from the Californian will be joining us to administer the news quiz. We'll have state-of-the-art news, traffic, and weather. It's a festival. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1. Streaming live on the internet at kernradio.com.
First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. The Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, live really 9 to noon. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
It's a Tuesday, which means our former federal magistrate judge, former Kern County counsel, and special counsel to Klein, Dinatelli, and Goldner, Teresa Goldner, is live in studio, looking very judge-like in your black.
Oh, well, thank you, Ralph. I know we were going to talk about legal stuff today, like we usually do. And I remember one time you said that this looked judge-like. So since we're talking about stuff like legal, I figured I'd look like a judge today.
We should get that old laugh-in music. Here comes the judge. Here comes the judge.
No,
do you remember that?
You started calling me judge again, but you can call me Terry.
Well, I like calling you judge. I like calling you judge. So the War Powers Act.
Yeah, the War
has
Powers
reared
Act.
its ugly
Isn't that
head yet
interesting?
again.
I mean, the War Powers Act is fascinating, I think. There have been so many presidents since Richard Nixon.
73 is when it was enacted.
Right. Every president since Richard Nixon has opposed the War
Blown
Powers
it off.
Act.
Blown it off.
Well, they kind of sort of recognize some of their responsibilities on it, but they don't. It's never been tested in the courts. Litigation has been threatened before over the War Powers Act, but so far nobody has. So how Trump has really tested the boundaries of presidential authority on a lot of different levels, a lot of different subjects. I would love to see him litigate the extent of the executive power, the presidential power with respect to the War Powers Act.
Well, can I read something before you get started?
Sure.
Since it's I've tried this yesterday, I couldn't say it. Since its enactment in 1973, nearly every U.S. president has been accused of violating or circumventing the War Powers Resolution by engaging in military actions without explicit prior congressional approval. Key presidents often cited include Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, and Donald Trump, who engaged in conflicts ranging from Yugoslavia and Libya to Panama and Somalia.
Yes.
They all blow it off.
Nobody
they all think
likes
it's
it.
ridiculous.
Well, they've all been accused of violating it. In the terms of the War Powers Act, what it purports to do, and it's been around forever, and it's never been amended since 1973. Isn't that amazing?
That is
Not
ridiculous.
once. What it requires is that the president consult with Congress,
Mhm.
which President Trump did, that the president provide a report within 48 hours. Hopefully he's done that. We'll see. That his authority to have the military troops and military forces engaged in a conflict, he has to withdraw all of those forces within 60 days unless, or he has the ability under the War Powers Act to extend it for another 30 days, unless Congress comes up with something that authorizes them to continue to have the troops there or have the military forces there. So that's why Congress can declare war. That's one way that it can be done. Congress can enact some sort of a statutory authorization to allow, us to engage in a military conflict in another country, or they can concurrent resolution, meaning the House and the Senate come up with a resolution to authorize this.
The Trump administration is so brazen that they made no attempt. You're right. They met with the Big Eight, or the whatever they call it, the Gang of Eight, the 4 on the Republican, 4 on the Democratic side. But they're openly, I heard Rubio refer to as war. I heard the Secretary of War, Secretary of Defense, that idiot Hegseth, allude to it as war. We didn't start this war. Oh, an absolute idiot. You don't think this drunkard is an absolute idiot, Terry?
I don't think he's a drunkard, and I don't think he's an idiot.
Really? You didn't hear about him being hauled off the stage of a strip club?
How long ago was that?
What difference does it make? If you're an alcoholic, you're an alcoholic.
Ralph, how long
You
ago
don't think
was
that's
it?
true?
Well,
you don't think that's true?
I think that's
You
true.
think if you're an alcoholic at 25, you're not an alcoholic at 50 just because you stopped drinking?
I think that if somebody gets in trouble, one time, you said he was hauled off of a stage.
Oh, no, there's several events, Teresa. There really are.
Well, I don't think he's an alcoholic. I really don't. I don't think so. I don't think he ever was
how,
one.
How can you say that? Any more than I could call him a drunk.
Well,
we don't know the man.
Well, do you call him a drunk? Because you did call him a drunk. You said he was an alcoholic.
I know. I said, but I don't have a right to do that any more than you. I'm not any more accurate than you are. We're both speculating.
I give people,
but I'm basing it on a list of series of events and testimony by fellow colleagues.
One time, you said he was pulled off a stage at a bar, in a strip club.
At a strip club.
Okay.
That he took his staff to.
Any other incident?
Which goes to show a lack of judgment.
Well, that's
time.
true. That's true. I mean, first of all, going to a place like that, I don't know if that's a lack of judgment, if it was on his own time, but bringing his staff, certainly that's a lack of judgment. But being called off the stage, being stupid one time does not make somebody an alcoholic. And I believe I give people the benefit of the doubt. And I'm going to give Pete Hegseth the
Next
benefit
week,
of the doubt.
I will chronicle the long list of events that made me conclude that this man, you really think that I'd take one event and declare somebody an alcoholic?
Well, you just did.
There are, no. There are a series of events. I just can't remember them.
Okay.
But I will have them ready for you next Tuesday. I promise you.
That'll be fun.
Because there are at least 4 or 5 different incidents which I'm surprised you're not aware of them because they were brought up during his confirmation hearing. But because of the majority, he still got through.
Have they all been confirmed that they really happened, or are these just things
Yes.
that people made up?
No, they're witnesses to all of it.
Okay, well, I look forward to seeing those.
And he's just a moron. He's just an idiot. He's not a very, you think he's a good Secretary of Defense?
I do.
Wow, I'm sorry.
I do.
I'm
And I
surprised.
also, didn't he go to Princeton? He came from an Ivy
Okay,
League
where he
school.
went to school? Okay, I went to Morehouse.
He's
I went
not.
to Cal State.
He's
What is that?
not an idiot.
He is an idiot. He's an absolute idiot.
Okay.
They changed the name of this Department of Defense to Department of War.
It used to
You
be.
don't think that's stupid?
Well, I wasn't really in favor of that.
Thank you.
It started out as the
You're
Department
just
of War.
nicer than I am.
Started out as the Department of War.
Yeah,
And then they
like
changed it
70
to
years
the-
ago.
Right. So now they're going back, right?
And why did we change it? Because we didn't want to be that guy. We didn't want to be all hawkish. We wanted to be like, Teddy Roosevelt.
We wanted to
Walk
be
softly
more
but carry a
moderate.
big stick.
That's right.
But now these guys, these macho Hegseth and Trump, they want to be the Department of War. And that somehow changes what?
Well, we are talking about the War Powers Act now, so we're right in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So we'll see. This week is when the Congress is actually going to vote on this War Powers Act resolution. Were you aware of that?
I was aware of that.
Yeah, there's
It's gonna
supposed to
be
have.
interesting.
Yeah, it's either going to be. I think it's set for tomorrow
Is it?
or Thursday, one of the two. I think currently it's set for tomorrow in the House, and I think the Senate was going to vote on it on the same day. But I checked the congressional record, and I didn't see any evidence that it was going to be voted on in the Senate specifically tomorrow. But I think they said it would be this week, and so that'll be really interesting. They have 2 separate versions of the 2 separate bills, and they're very much identical, but they're not exactly identical. And basically, both of them say that he has to withdraw the military forces from any type of conflict with Iran.
He's never going to do that. He's never going to do that.
Even if you think he would ignore
Yes,
Congress by doing
absolutely.
that? I think he would go to court first before he would do that.
Well, okay.
I really do.
I
And I hope
don't
he
know
does.
how he's going to do it, but he's not going to. You're right. He'll probably use the courts, but he's not going to obey Congress.
Yeah, I looked at the bill itself, and I was comparing kind of the differences between the two, and there are some pretty big loopholes in there. They talk about how they direct the president to end unauthorized U.S. military hostilities in or against Iran under the War Powers Act, but one of them says, unless it's necessary for defense, or unless it's necessary for something
National
else.
security.
Yeah, there's a lot of wiggle room in there.
That's the defense they're going to make. This is about national security, and you can make a pretty good
I think so.
argument.
Well,
you could say that we've within the last 2 months we've cut off China's two of their largest oil exporters, India and was it India? Was it India?
Well, India, I'm not sure.
Was it India?
I don't know.
I think it was India, and now from Iran, where China was getting 55% of its oil.
Oof. Well, the specific wording of the statute itself says it invokes Section 5C of the 1973 War Powers Act, and it includes a rule of construction that protects intelligence sharing, but it doesn't explicitly mention working with Israel, but it says that he has to terminate the use of the United States Armed Forces from hostilities against the Islamic Republic of Iran or any part of its government or military, unless explicitly authorized by a declaration of war or by specific authorization for military forces against Iran. So that's the House version. That's a little bit stronger.
So we're going to be what, 10, 20, 30, 40 days into this thing, and they're just going to pull the plug.
Well,
and can't they pull the plug?
And that's one of the reasons
the purse
why
strings?
They can. Well, I don't know. I think it might be too late for them to pull the purse strings at this point because they've already done the budget. So for Department of War. So I don't know if they can pull the purse strings, but remember you were saying how it kind of leaves him out in the cold. What's he going to do now that we've entered into this conflict? And then what if they pull out, his authority to be there in the first place? That's one of the arguments that all of these presidents since Richard Nixon have made against why the War Powers Act is unconstitutional in the first place.
Yeah.
Because it cuts the president off from really doing anything that
where Congress is leading our foreign policy, and that's insane.
Yeah, it really and that's not what the purpose of the Constitution says when they made the president to be the commander in chief of our military forces.
Exactly.
And that's probably, I think, the strongest argument that's been made by the past presidents and by, believe it or not, every office of legal counsel that has advised the president since Nixon has come up with the same opinion that this is an unconstitutional act, the War Powers Act. Now, the version that the Senate is going to be voting on, this is the version to curtail President Trump's powers. It actually says, Congress hereby directs the president to remove the United States Armed Forces from hostilities within or against Iran. Here's the loophole. Unless explicitly authorized by a declaration of war or a specific authorization of military use. It has a broader construction, though. Later language in the resolution, proposed resolution, explicitly allows, here's the three things. One, self-defense, which I think he's been saying self-defense.
Right.
And depending on what interview you're listening to.
Well, let me stop you right there. That's part of the problem I'm already starting to have with this
the reason why
operation.
Right.
Because yesterday we were all told by Marco Rubio it started because Israel was going to attack Iran, and Iran's first response would be to attack our bases, so we stepped in early. Then the president said this morning, no, I decided to get off first. We were not dragged in because that's where they were going to go, the Democrats and the liberal media. Oh, we got dragged in by Israel. This is Israel's war. Tucker Carlson has already said that. Megan Fox has come out and said that. And so the president changed, said, no, I decided to do this. Had nothing to do with Israel. So that's part of my problem, that the messaging, it's as if they all weren't in a room and didn't decide what we're going to say as our motivation.
To me, it kind of sounds like somebody said this, so I didn't think of this, but it sounds like he's kind of workshopping his reasons, depending on which reporter he's been talking to.
Exactly.
My understanding was that I heard that he had talked to somebody, I don't know if it was which specific magazine, which newspaper it was. It's like what you said, that Israel was going to go in anyway, and he had to decide whether he wanted to wait until Iran retaliated against a U.S. base over there and then go after Iran, or whether he should just go in directly and do it together with Israel.
Which isn't really realistic, because are you telling me that he couldn't talk Benjamin Netanyahu out of not attacking Iran? Because if that's not the case, Netanyahu he's been wanting to do this for decades.
Oh, yeah.
That's why everybody's saying it's his war. He's been telling us, he told Clinton that they'll have a nuclear war in 3 years. He told, who followed Clinton? George Walker Bush, they'll have it in 2 years. He's told every president since Clinton they're going to have a nuclear weapon in next Wednesday.
Well, despite
the reason why we're there? Do you think it's good that we are there?
I have told my audience I'm going to stay out of it and just try to wait and judge on the results.
Oh, interesting.
I'm not smart enough to figure it out, but my gut, I know politically this was a horrendous time to do this. And I believe that there is a great opportunity that the Democrats are going to flip Texas. There's a Senate race going on today. It's a primary. But I think that they have a great opportunity to flip Texas.
But hasn't Trump gone up in the polls?
No.
Gone down?
No. Well, it depends. There's a Reuters poll that says 43% of the country doesn't agree with him. CNN's poll, which I think they put the thumb on, but on the scale, but their poll says like 65% of the country disagrees with what he's doing.
Interesting. I read something, I don't know where it was, but they said that his approval rating had gone up to 50%.
Oh,
Do you think that's fair?
Oh,
That's not
no,
true?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Well, going back
But-
to the War Powers Act, the other two loopholes in this, it explicitly says that they can share intelligence, including with Israel, and they specifically name Israel. And then they say, here's a good one. Here's the last loophole. Number 3, the president can assist Israel in defensive measures against Iranian retaliation. I mean, that's the whole
So this
9
is
yards.
specifically written now?
Yeah, that is in the Senate version of the resolution that they're going to be voting on either tomorrow or Thursday. See, that language is not in the House version, but it's in the Senate version. These are two separate bills, but they're companion bills. So if it gets passed let's say it gets passed in the Senate, then the House has to agree to it too. And if the House of Representatives version gets passed, the Senate has to approve that one too. So you got to have one resolution.
Yeah.
So they got to figure it out. But I don't think either one of them is going to pass. Right now, the statistics show that one of them's got less than a 10% chance of passing, and that's the Senate version. So if neither one of them pass, then he's still subject to the War Powers Act, unless he goes to the Supreme Court and says, please tell me what the extent of my power is.
You really think there's an opportunity that he might be like, oh, okay, Marco, bring everybody home? There's no way in hell, Terry. I'd be willing to bet my life on it. There's no way in the world he's going to unplug this operation.
Well,
no way in the world, and I don't blame him.
We're never going to
I don't
know.
blame him. I don't agree with it. I think politically it's going to destroy it. Unless they can wrap this thing up in a month or two. If this thing goes in, I said this yesterday, I'm willing to go this far. If this thing goes into the fall, into September, 2 months from the terms, the Republican Party is destroyed because there are two facts about war, Ms. Goldner, two facts that are irrefutable.
People die.
People die, and you can't do a damn thing about it. And we've seen the death toll in 2 days jump from 3 to 6. And the other thing that I was studying last night, you can't do regime change from the air.
Oh, I can see why that you couldn't
can't.
do that.
It's never been done.
That's the part that's troubling to me is, we're over there and, he's saying, come on, take over your country, have your own government over there. But how do you do that?
That's a
How do you
great
do
point. That was a great point. And I'm glad you said that because it reminded me what I was going to talk about.
Who do you go to? Who do you talk to? Where do you have to get weapons to fight the Republican
And I was just
army?
going to say, this was why the Second Amendment is so important.
Right.
And I know the first thing you're going to say when I say that, well, Ralph, like we could fight off the federal government. Well, probably not, but at least we could form little militias. Because I was thinking when I was saying this, people were going to call me stupid because we couldn't fight off the federal government. Well, let's say
people have tried.
Let's say there was a Las Vegas in 1775. Okay, there's a Las Vegas and the bookies and bet makers. 1775. Who would have taken the bet that the colonies would have beaten the British?
Probably nobody.
Nobody. How the hell could we? They have more money. They got more guns. Boop, 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 boop. But at least with the Second Amendment, we'd have a fighting chance. We could form militias. We'd do guerrilla warfare. We could fight off the government. But like you say, in Iran,
where are they going to get the guns?
Where are they going to get the guns? How in the world are they going to regime change?
Unless we or another country provide them.
You've got to get boots on the ground.
Right.
You've got to provide weapons. You've got to help them and train them and
And how do you get organized? What do you do?
Exactly.
One of the things that I thought was kind of interesting was how President Trump was saying, I think in his second speech, he talked about some of the soldiers wanted to get immunity, the ones that were out there fighting right now and against us. But the question is, who do you ask for immunity from?
Yeah.
The United States? How do we grant them immunity? I don't see how we can do that.
And he's urging the IRGC to lay down their weapons.
That's not going
to happen. To who?
Right. Would go to the police station and drop them off?
I just...
Yeah.
Again,
it's a very confusing situation over there. I was thinking, when this happened and I was listening to all the news reports on it, I was thinking, what must it be like to be living there right now? How confusing it must be, no matter what what side you're on. It's got to be pretty scary over there.
Did you see the funeral for Khomeini and his wife?
No, I didn't.
They had him in caskets, and then they had him in on a trailer being dragged by a big rig, and a glass encased, whatever that you call it, with the caskets inside, and the people were carrying it along the trailer, and it was just thousands and thousands of people in the streets. And it reminds you that not everybody is anti-Khomeini. Not everybody is anti-IRGC over there.
Right.
That's the issue.
When you think about it, hasn't he been the ruler over there, the dictator, basically?
For 40-something years.
I thought it was 37 years.
I thought it was 46.
Yeah. Think about it. Most of the people that live there have only known him as their leader. So that's understandable.
Yeah.
But, we're in a very tense time right now, obviously.
We really are. We really are.
I think what's your prediction that Congress will do on this War Powers Act resolution? You think they'll vote to have him stop the use of military force?
I don't see how they can.
Because they've left him because it would be leaving him dangling right now.
And we would be the laughing stock of the world.
Right. How embarrassing would that be?
Yeah, you're cutting off the legs. You're cutting off the legs of the president, whether you agree with him or not.
And you can't do that.
This is the guy who got elected. I don't agree with a lot of the things he does, but it just goes to show that there are, what I said yesterday, there are two Americas. There's now a Democratic America and there's a Republican America, because the Democrats and the liberal media are absolutely, it seems to me, almost hoping that this thing fails and predicting that it's going to fail.
That's sad.
And how you do that with men and women in harm's way, I just don't understand, because it just wasn't like that when we were kids. It wasn't like that when we were young adults in the 20th century. If there was one thing that was bipartisan, it was foreign affairs, and it was when people are in harm's way, both parties came together and we were America. We were America. Now we're still Democrats and we're Republicans.
How do you probably talked about this, and I didn't hear your show, but I'm guessing that you talked about it. How do you explain those Democrats not standing up during the President Trump's State of the Union speech, where he said, "Do you support Americans first?"
Because there are two Americas. That's
outrageous. I think.
Yes, he was right. They're crazy.
Yeah,
they're crazy.
It's unbelievable. Well, Trump has, he's got the 60 days before, and he has to withdraw everything within 60 days, unless he can extend it for another 30 days if he has I think it's a declaration of a military necessity, and he will come up with that. So he's basically got 90 days, even under the War Powers Act.
And don't be completely pessimistic about this, because if he wraps this up in 30 to 60 days, we're going to win the midterms. J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio will be the next president. I mean, they will look like fools if we can just get, and I was stupid to say, I think yesterday I said something about the seed of democracy being planted. And I listened to the show last night because we had almost a record crowd last night. And I was just like, come on, Ralph, the seed of democracy, that's a stretch.
What was your theory on that? Seed of democracy where?
In Iran. And I listened to that last night. I was like, who is this guy?
Why do you think you said that? What were you thinking of?
Well, because I think there's an opportunity for change. I think a seed of democracy is a stretch, but I think there is an opportunity for change. I think Reza Pahlavi, the son of the Shah, could be a liaison between those who are dissatisfied, which is a large number, and those that are loyal to Khomeini. I don't know. I mean, that's why I don't want to talk about, because I have no idea what I'm talking about, Terry.
Well, you'll learn more every day. The more we get into this,
all I do know is that if men and women start coming home in body bags, the Republican Party is in big trouble.
Boy, let's hope that never
happens.
happens.
Because Democrats will seize that. They don't care.
Well,
They don't care.
Speaking of deaths and money and Congress and all of that stuff and leaving the president dangling, what do you think Congress is going to do about authorizing the budget for DHS now? Those are the ones that are going to protect people from these terrorist cells.
Yeah.
I mean, that if there are sleeper cells in the United States that are going to get activated, people are talking about all that kind of thing now. If Iran, engages in those kinds of tactics against us on the homeland, what is Congress going to do about
I have
that?
no idea.
Are they going to have? They're going to have to approve the budget,
Yeah.
and it's going to have to be a big budget, and so much is happening right now.
I think, everybody's comparing this to Iraq and Afghanistan. I think the biggest difference between all of the past is the Gulf states. The Iranians thought that it's like it's like you have four brothers, and you can say whatever you want to your brother. He's family. But if anybody outside the family starts talking bad about it, no, we're all one. And that's what's happened with the Gulf states. And Iran didn't count on that. I think Iran started attacking Bahrain and Oman and Jordan and even Saudi Arabia and all those Gulf states.
Lebanon has responded already,
right,
in favor
of us. That's what I'm saying. And I think they thought.
No, I thought Lebanon is with Iran. I thought Lebanon was on Iran's
Okay.
side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Gulf states are with us.
Right.
And I think the Iranians thought that the Gulf states would be mad at us because we're not even involved with this. And now they're attacking us. And instead, what they've done is come with us. And now we've basically got allies in that area. And I think there's a glimmer of hope.
Well, what a miscalculation it was for them to fire missiles into Egypt and go after the airports in those countries.
Exactly.
What were they thinking?
That those countries would get mad at us somehow.
Boy,
and in fact, it's
very
flipped
misguided.
the script.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the only hope. That's the only hope.
Well, see what Congress does on this war powers resolution. That's going to be fun.
interesting.
I predict it's going to fail both the House and the Senate. And Trump.
That's a pretty good prediction, I think. I think it's a pretty good prediction because there's no way, I don't care what anybody says when any law is enacted, there's no way he's going to pull the plug. No way in the world. And like I said, I don't blame him. I don't blame him. Teresa Goldner, everybody. Quick time out. We're coming right back. Don't go anywhere. I'm sorry, I got us all off.
This is AM 1180 KERN Greenacres. This is 96.1 FM Bakersfield. Online at KERNradio.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Israel strikes against Hezbollah in Lebanon as the ongoing Iran war continues.
Israel said Tuesday it deployed more troops along its northern border with Lebanon as it continues attacks against Hezbollah. Israel said that it is preparing for the possibility of Hezbollah to expand its attacks against Israel, and so far it has one division inside southern Lebanon. Now, this comes after Hezbollah launched an attack against Israel, saying it was in retaliation for the killing of Iran's supreme leader. Israel killed Iran's supreme leader when it launched a joint attack with the United States on Iran, sparking this war.
That's correspondent Sam Mednick reporting. Concerns are being raised about U.S. citizens are having trouble evacuating from the Middle East. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
The State Department has urged Americans across more than a dozen countries in the Mideast to immediately depart the region using commercial transportation. But many airlines have canceled flights. Some current and former lawmakers from both political parties are criticizing the Trump administration's handling of the situation. However, the White House insists the State Department is working to help Americans return home. Greg Clugston, Washington.
The midterm election primaries in Texas, North Carolina, and Arkansas. War with Iran breaks out. Democrats and Republicans are figuring out who they want to lead their party into November's general election, when control of Congress and state houses around the country will be up for grabs. The most hotly contested races of the day are in Texas, with fierce competition on both sides of the aisle for U.S. Senate nominations. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 403 points. The NASDAQ dropped 232. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Run for president.
If you're an investor with money in a 401k or IRA, what's happening right now in Washington could affect you directly. The Supreme Court ruling impacting Trump-era tariffs has injected new uncertainty into global trade policy. And when policy risk rises, investors move to safety.
Plus, escalating tensions involving Iran are adding stress to an already fragile global landscape. Trade tensions, global instability, currency pressure. We're seeing gold and silver prices move higher again. Capital flowing toward tangible safe haven assets like precious metals. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000 to get your free gold investment kit. You'll also receive a free copy of Ken Rogoff's book, Our Dollar, Your Problem. Many Americans are rolling over a portion of their retirement savings into physical gold and silver, tax and penalty free with Advantage Gold. Call 800-900-8000. Results vary. Consult your financial advisor before investing. Call 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000.
No, not necessarily.
From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
He believes an ice-free zone should be created in Delano. I'm Chris Davis. The mayor of Delano says Latino citizens are being hunted, but he does not want that happening on city property. At the end of last night's Delano Council meeting, Mayor Salvador Solorio Ruiz requested that an item be added to the agenda for the next meeting to discuss a proposal for an ordinance to ban federal agents from city property. Mayor Ruiz says he's been working with the city attorney to look at legal options to put residents first. Gas is going up, but not just in California. The average price for a gallon of regular went up across the country to $3.11 per night. Meanwhile, California's average for a gallon has gone up to $4.64, says Gas Buddy. There's speculation that gas prices could go up because Iran may block oil exports from leaving the Middle East. You may have heard about the ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court Monday that says California's law that bans school authorities from telling parents if their kids are transgender, transitioning, or changing their pronouns is unconstitutional. What that means for California is that the law or the ban is now itself banned. The court sided with a ruling from a lower court against California.
See you next week.
Just for a man accused of beating his girlfriend to death with a stick in 2024. The murder trial for Salvador Navarro Razo was put off Monday, but Navarro Razo is expected back in court next week to possibly talk about another trial. Police and prosecutors say a friend of Angelica Castillo Fernandez found her body in the trailer where the couple lived after getting a call from Navarro Razo saying she was in a place after a fight about money. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN Newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on FM 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
What do you think? This is the Army where you shoot them a mile away? You gotta get a post like this. Little thing, you blow their brains all over your nice Ivy League suit.
It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Now make sure you leave the house when you make the call. You understand me? You hear me? Call from an outside line. I mean it.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Hour 2 of the broadcast on this third day of March because it's our anniversary. Did you know that? Did I mention that at all? Did I mention that, Chris? A little bit. 13 years. But it's our anniversary.
I'm trying. Our computer's having issues.
Damn. We got a busy show. I haven't even told you guys what's going on today. There's a Texas primary going on as we speak. Polls are about to close in about 2 hours at 6 o'clock in Texas, throughout Texas. We'll kind of unpack that for you. Then coming up at the 5, a Valley Fever Walk is coming up this weekend. I think I'm going to take part, unless, to be honest with you, I get a tea time. But we'll talk with either Danielle Colbert or Sarah Kelly about the Valley Fever Walk. As most of you know, I assume, I suffered with Valley Fever, was in the hospital for 2 weeks with Valley Fever, and had a biopsy, and it was a ridiculous time. It was the first time I'd ever really spent time in a hospital in my entire life. And it was the first time that I realized what people say is true. You know, people say, if you want to get rest, don't go to a hospital. And it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. They wake you up throughout the night because they have to check on you and they have to give you meds. And if you're sharing a room with somebody else, they've got to check on them as well. And You get absolutely no sleep. I was so miserable every single day. I was like, when can I get out? And I had double pneumonia. And then at the end, my oxygen level was in the upper 80s when it's supposed to be 95. And so they were telling me that even when they were going to release me, they were going to release me with an oxygen tank. And I was like in my early 50s. And I was like, I am not tooling around a green oxygen tank around Bakersfield. I'd rather stay in the hospital. And I was there for 2 freaking weeks. It was miserable. It was miserable. And I was dating, I was dating 2 women at the time, and they both came to visit me. And I remember the nurse came, like, somebody came in the morning and somebody came in the afternoon. And the nurse came in late that afternoon and she said, "You are a despicable human being." She said it with a smile on her face. And I said, "They're just friends." And she looked at me like, I was born at night, but not last night. And I was just like, oh, what are you gonna do? There's a better story, but I can't tell it. There really is. 842-537-6842 KERN. Mike Arier can tell it because he kind of walked. Anyway, what do you got on the board?
Ralph, the pictures Boebert tweeted out weren't of Hillary and Epstein. She was tweeting a picture of Hillary testifying from the closed door hearing, and Hillary took umbrage with it because they didn't want to televise it, but are releasing pictures.
Right, and one of the pictures was the wedding picture with Jeffrey Epstein. You're absolutely right. What else you got?
Relax, Ralph. The drunk go get. Never mind.
Yeah. What else you got?
Yeah. Let's see. China gets oil from Venezuela and Iran.
And we took Venezuela's oil. Maybe that's who I was thinking of. But I thought it was India that we cut the deal with. That cut off Russia and I'm all mixed up. I'm kind of giddy today. I guess it's because of my my anniversary. Certainly not my money. My money's not back in my account yet. I haven't checked this afternoon, but I don't know why I'm giddy. Why am I giddy today? Oh, it's a beautiful day. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know. What else you got?
Benjamin Netanyahu pressured Trump to attack Iran, just like Bibi Netanyahu lied in 2002 to get George Bush to attack Iraq. We should just make Israel a state, since we give them billions of dollars every year to protect their interests. No other state gets that. That way, at least we could tax them.
What's the option? I'm going to make you president of the United States. What's the option? We're going to lose our only friend in the Middle East. We're going to lose our only democracy in the Middle East. The only democracy in the Middle East that can arm itself and can defend itself and can help us with other situations like, I don't know, Iran, or any other bad actors in that region. Come on. And there is a large lobby here in the United States. You're damn right. Votes count. And there's a large Jewish lobby in this country, and they have a right to express their opinion, and that's how politics works. I don't know if you were in civics class in 10th grade or not, but that's how it works. What else you got?
The country of Lebanon is actually on our side. The Lebanese army is not fighting the Israeli. He's really said an entire division of tanks into Lebanon to look for her. Hezbollah in retaliation, and celebrities army diddle it, let them go. I don't know about the last part of that, but
okay. What else?
Let's see. Iranians worldwide are thanking us and the USA and Trump for liberating Iran from the terrorists. And the quote federal of, Khamenei.
Khomeini.
For
leader,
Khomeini
the superior
is
leader.
probably faked AI.
You really think something's changed in Iran? Really? You think that the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard, isn't running Iran? Really? You think people are free and women aren't wearing hijabs and they have First Amendment rights and everything? Really? Come on. Let's get real. There's been regime change. There may be. But like I said, we've never, ever, anyone has never made regime change from the air. And as I quoted the president yesterday, I think I still have the quote down here, where he said, basically, I'm not skittish about putting troops on the ground. Apparently I don't have it with me. I left it at the house, but he's already said that, which is frightening, because once the body count starts to increase, the Democrats are going to exploit that. And if you think the disapproval is high now, you wait until that body count gets into the 3 digits. That's just the reality of it. I pray to God that never happens. And perhaps if we continue with strategic air attacks, Marco Rubio has said there's a new wave coming. But, I've been saying we should make a parking lot out of Iran for a long time. They're a bad actor. They have attacked us time and time and time and time again. They're the greatest exporters of terrorism. I just have to wonder about the timing, because I'm beginning to think that Texas is going to flip. I really do. I think that there's no way in hell John Cornyn is going to win again against Ken Paxton. Ken Paxton is a guy that was impeached as Attorney General. He was acquitted. He was leveled with bribery charges. So he's got legal problems, he's got moral problems, and he's got ethical problems. His moral problems is he cheated on his wife. And either Jasmine Crockett or James Tallarico, and remember, I predicted that James Tallarico is going to be the guy. They're going to go after him on that. If John Cornyn wins, they don't have to spend any money in Texas. He's going to win that state easily, but he may not win. And then you've got this X Factor guy. And you know who really could determine that seat? Wesley Hunt, the third candidate, who's also in the 20s. It's 39, 29, 21. 32% for the incumbent, John Cornyn, who's been there for 24 years, 4 6-year terms, and Wesley Hunt, an unknown African-American former Army military helicopter pilot, who's running at 21%. So he's going to get booted out at around 10 o'clock tonight, but he's got 20% of the vote of Texas. And whoever he sides with is going to win, in my opinion. So he is the key there. But I am more, as if you're a loyal listener, I am more vocal about my opinion on how this thing is going to go after seeing just the clown show this administration has put on, where this is the reason, no, this is the reason, no, this is the reason. They can't even get their story straight. I mean, it's as if they weren't ever in a meeting together and said, okay, this is why we're doing this, period, end of sentence. And even the strongest Trump supporters have to have witnessed the dichotomy in what Marco Rubio said yesterday. Israel was going to attack Iran. Iran would attack us, so we got off the first shot. And then he walked it totally back. I had way too much audio to bring in that on Chris today, but maybe, no, I promised him no audio tomorrow, but maybe on Thursday.
You can bring the audio.
We'll have some Marco Rubio audio. Well, no, we have it from yesterday. Go back and get some old Marco Rubio audio that we already cut.
Which one are we talking about?
Either one of them. Either one of them. Let me go back and look. Where he
I had to break it up into 2.
Well, just play the first one. We'll play both of them. This is
why now? Well, there's 2 reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic, and in fact, it bared to be true because, in fact, within an hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact, those had already been pre-positioned. The third is the assessment that was made that if we stood and waited for that attack to come first before we hit them, we would suffer much higher casualties.
You see what I'm saying? And he walked that back totally today. He had a meeting with the gang of 8 senators from members of the House and from both the Democratic and the Republican side. Totally walked that back because the Democrats started saying that Israel drew us into this. The typical fans, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Megyn Kelly, Tucker Carlson, they said this is an Israeli war that we're supporting somehow. And they've completely walked that back. I mean, I just don't understand how they can't get their story straight as to why we're doing this. And we'll see. I mean, nobody knows where this thing's going to go. War is the most unpredictable thing on the planet. Who in the world could have ever imagined that the Ukraine war would go on for 4 to 5 years? Nobody. We all thought that thing would be wrapped up in 6 months, maybe a year. Russia would walk right through Ukraine, right into Kiev. And yet here we are some 4 years later. So I just know that if this thing goes into the fall, we're in big, big trouble. But on the other end, if he can wrap this thing up somehow and walk away a winner and pull the George Bush, because remember when George Bush landed on that aircraft carrier with the big banner, mission accomplished? There was no mission accomplished. There was no mission accomplished. We should have never been in Iraq. But yet we deemed it a win. And if he could somehow TR that away, make a public relations bid that we actually did what we came to do and get out of there in a month or two, the whole scenario could be flipped. We'll see what happens. Let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, I'll talk a little bit more, got some more specifics on that Texas Senate race. It's going to be fascinating to watch tonight. And remember, I'm putting my political prognostication ability on the line here. James Tellerico is going into this day some 7 or 8 points down to Jasmine Crockett, but I'm predicting that Tellerico, a former minister and moderate Democrat in Texas, is going to win that seat, despite being 7 points down, 3 weeks ago, before he raised $2.5 million in a day, before Stephen Colbert put his interview on YouTube and it got 6 million views. Jasmine Crockett is a cartoon character. But that's who we want. That's what's unfortunate. I want to be wrong. I want to desperately be wrong because I want Jasmine Crockett to take on either John Cornyn or Ken Paxton. Quick timeout. We're coming right back. It's TRBS on a Tuesday right here on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. We stream live at kernradio.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. The JR Show, weekdays at 2 p.m.
$500,000 for a building that is burned down 23 times in the last year, and it only makes me ask, why the hell haven't we just let this thing burn down to the ground already? And then the internet, as great as it is, the comment says, I hope the person that reports this fire didn't call 911.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Because
one of the highlights of this radio broadcast appears on Thursdays at 4:30. Our money man, Daniel Petrie with Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors. You all know by now what Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors are all about.
But
you
how
know
long
that I've
has it
turned on
been?
staff members who are extremely happy with being a client with Daniel. And I've
That's
told
what I
you,
thought.
I've been a client for almost a decade now, and it is the single
She just had a
most
small early
important
pregnancy
and smartest financial move I have ever made. If you're staring at retirement late in life and you're in the fourth quarter, call Daniel, 395-9400, 395-9400. Just keep it locked. Tune in every Thursday at 4:30 when it appears on the broadcast. Daniel Petrie and the folks at Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors.
This broadcast is for informational purposes only. Does not constitute a solicitation or offer to buy or sell any security, future, option, or other financial instrument, or to offer or provide any investment advisory or other services to any person in any jurisdiction by Daniel Petrie or MPWA Inc., DBA Messmaker and Petrie Wealth Advisors. Any views expressed in this broadcast by us are prepared based upon the information available to us at the time, and we are under no obligation to update our views.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter.
Jackson Hewitt knows taxes are complicated, and with multiple jobs and tax forms, they're like sonata complicated. Our no surprise pricing keeps things simple. Jackson Hewitt does your taxes for only $149 or less. And since we know all the new tax codes, you could get thousands back. So what are you waiting for? Hurry. File with Jackson Hewitt today for only $149 or less, guaranteed. Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number, 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every
Hey, I'm gonna
second.
do the Trump.
If your identity
Chris,
is
I'm gonna do the
stolen,
Trump
we'll
audio.
fix it guaranteed.
I'm gonna do the
One
Trump
last big
audio.
number. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
Did you know GoodRx can help you save on medication, manage prescriptions, and get trusted health information? If you're one of the millions living with a heart condition, check GoodRx for an easier, more affordable way to manage your health. GoodRx offers common heart medications for under $30. Just search for your prescription, find the best price, then show your pharmacist the GoodRx coupon. And it works whether you have insurance or not. To start saving and better manage your heart health, download the free app or visit GoodRx.com today. GoodRx is not insurance but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state funded programs.
I'm JR Flores. Catch my show, The JR Show, weekdays at 2 p.m. Now, back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Just to show you what I'm talking about, I hope you paid attention to what the Secretary of State said yesterday. Now, here's what the president said. He had the German prime minister in the White House. He still has not addressed the nation, which I don't understand. I don't think any president in the history of this country has taken us to war. They're calling it war now. Hegseth called it a war. Rubio's called it a war. I don't think I've ever heard the president actually use the word war, but his delegates are, his surrogates are. And here's what the president had to say this morning about our entering into this conflict.
I might have forced their hand. You see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that. And we have great negotiators, great people, people that do this very successfully and have done it all their lives very successful. And based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first. And I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand.
See, that is absolutely contrary to what Rubio said yesterday. Rubio said Israel was going to attack Iran and Iran would attack us in response. And the president said, no, I thought Iran was going to attack us. So we got, in fact, the quote that he had in the Washington Post was, because they discovered that Khomeini had a bounty out for him, essentially. He said, I got him before he got me. Here's more on this conflict from the president.
But if we didn't do what we're doing right now, you would have had a nuclear war and they would have taken out many countries because you know what? They're sick people. They're mentally ill, sick people. They're angry. They're crazy. They're sick.
He's right about that. And that was one of the things I tried to express yesterday. Do you know who these people are? Liberal Democrats who are denouncing this and disparaging it and saying it's going to be an absolute disaster. Do you know who these people are? Do you know that, like I said yesterday, the greatest analogy that I have is God Bless America. There's not an American citizen doesn't know that song. It is ingrained in us. We're raised with it. You know what they're raised with? Death to America. And it's not about killing a couple of Americans. No, it's about wiping out the United States of America. And as I talked about yesterday, Khomeini was seen burning as his now deceased cohorts were in the background. He was lighting an American flag as they chanted death to America. But again, it's anyone's guess where this thing's going to go. The big news today that I buried the lead, the U.S. consulate in Dubai was hit by an Iranian drone. Apparently, according to Secretary Rubio, it hit a parking lot next to the parliamentarian building there that nobody was injured. But this is another attempt to go after some of the Gulf Coast countries. And I just think that is a gargantuan mistake. And it is now starting to form some sort of an alliance that gives us a greater opportunity to destroy these people. Because it's the only thing we can do right now is just absolutely destroy their Navy, destroy the Air Force, command air power. We're told that we should have air control by as early as tomorrow. And we're into this thing. That's why I don't think there's any way in the world, no matter what Congress does, that Donald Trump or his administration is going to. Is there anybody out there that really thinks he's going to pull the plug on this thing? Then all of a sudden, there's going to be a vote in the House, and he's going to say, "Oh, okay, we'll tell Secretary of State to bring all the planes back, bring back the USS Gerald Ford, and we'll call it a day." That's insane. That is never, ever, ever going to happen. They're going to stay the course. They'll take it to the court. They'll wait till the courts decide. And in my opinion, they might even defy the courts. They might even defy the courts. But he's got 60 to 150 days. We'll see what happens with this vote this week. I agree with Teresa. I don't think that either the House or the Senate is going to pass this thing. I don't think they have the guts. I don't think they have the numbers. And now it's just a wait and see game. It really is. And I think the timing on a certain level was right, perhaps militarily, because I think this is about as weak as they've been and is about as complacent as they've been. For them, for all 41 leaders, including Khomeini, to be in one spot, I think they had their guard down a little bit. You know, it's like the scene in The Godfather, where they get the Godfather, and Sollozzo says, "Tom, could I have gotten him 10 years? The Don was slipping. Well, I think the Ayatollah was slipping." And you know, it's like the State of the Union. You always keep somebody in the cabinet back at the White House just in case they blow up the House of Representatives, where everybody is. And you can't. There's a great book about that, where that happens, and the Senate Pro Tem is back at the White House, and he ends up being the president. And I think they made a movie out of it where James Earl Jones plays the president. But I don't know. I wish I could tell you where this is going. I don't think political scientists can tell us where this thing is going. It just, again, just to reverberate what I was saying yesterday, I just wish we were all pulling on the same rope, and we're not. There are two different sides in this, and I'm just not used to that during conflicts. I don't even think, even during Iraq and Afghanistan, I don't think we had the kind of division that we're experiencing now. I don't think we've seen this since Vietnam. Quick timeout. I got to get back to my Hillary and Bill audio. I've been screwing around talking about my anniversary. I've got some great audio that Chris went out of his way to cut, so let's get to that. We played a little bit of Hillary earlier going at it with Nancy Mace, and now it's the denial audio. You're going to hear Hillary deny, call people liars, and then Slick Willie. Wait till you get a load of this. I would stick around if I you. It's the Ralph Bailey Show. Don't go anywhere.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington, Texas. Voters are settling the first U.S. Senate primaries of the midterm election year. Republican Senator John Cornyn is trying to hold on for a fifth term. Democrats are choosing whether he'll face Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett or State Representative James Tallarico. Cornyn is being challenged by MAGA favorite and State Attorney General Ken Paxton and U.S. Representative Wesley Hunt. The contest is expected to go to a May runoff. Israel stepped up airstrikes on Iranian missile launchers and a nuclear research site, and Iran retaliated against Israel and across the Gulf region, disrupting energy supplies and travel. As explosions rang out in Tehran and in Lebanon, where Israel said it struck embassy in Saudi Arabia came under drone attack. SRN News.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. From the KERN Newsroom, your news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
I'm Chris Davis. The mayor of Delano says federal agents should be banned from entering city property, and he's proposed an ordinance to do that, which he requested be put on the agenda for the next city council meeting. Mayor Salvador Solorio Ruiz says Latino citizens are being hunted, and he believes the city should put residents first. The U.S. Supreme Court says California cannot enforce the law that bans school authorities from telling parents if their children are changing pronouns or identifying as transgender. The state has argued they believe students have a right to privacy. Gas in California is now $4.64 on average, says Gas Buddy. That's after the national. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN newsroom with news rates on FM 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Attention, Medicare beneficiaries in Kern County. If you're eligible for Medicare and looking for a doctor with minimal wait times and prompt referral authorizations. It's QualCare IPA. You know, for years, I've been telling you, QualCare IPA contracts with most Medicare Advantage health plans and provides you with access to a large network of outstanding doctors and quality hospitals right here in Kern County. Medicare Advantage health plans go beyond original Medicare benefits coverage, and understanding these coverage differences may be confusing. 615-554-4544. Help you understand your options for 2026. Call today. 661-554-4544. That's 661-554-4544. Get the information you need and the coverage you deserve. For accommodations of persons with special needs and meetings, call 4544-TTY-7.
Start your day right. First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Wednesday edition of the First Look program, we'll talk a little medicine with our friend Dr. Vip Dev. John Cox from the Californian will be joining us to administer the news quiz. We'll have state-of-the-art news, traffic, and weather. It's a festival. It's all happening 6 to 9 a.m. right here at News Talk 96.1. Streaming live on the internet at kernradio.com.
First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. The Armstrong and Getty Show, weekdays noon to 2 on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. Now, back to the Ralph Bailey Show.
That's something different. There you go. Good song, too. 842-5376, our phone number, 842-KERN. So we played at the top of the show a little bit of the depositions of the Clintons that has now been released. We'll wrap up with Hillary and then get into Slick Willie. Here is, where were we, Chris? Number 2?
4, I believe, Jeff, right?
4, yeah. This is, I think either Lauren Boebert or Nancy Mace asking if and when Hillary met Jeffrey Epstein.
And just to make clear for the record,
it's neither.
have you ever met Jeffrey Epstein?
I do not recall ever meeting Jeffrey Epstein. In preparation for this hearing, I was told that he attended an event at the White House that was put on by the White House Historical Association.
Okay, stop right there. So there was an event at the White House, and Jeffrey Epstein, who was a mover and shaker, who we still don't know how, we don't know, he didn't have a college degree, how he became a financier in New York. Personally, I believe he was a spy. I believe he was either an Israeli spy, maybe a UK spy, or a CIA spy. But you're telling me that there was an event at the White House, and this major mover and shaker, who your husband flew around the country with 27 times, and you never met him. You were never introduced to him. He was just kind of hanging around the White House at this historical society event. That's just not plausible. But it's deniable, but it's not plausible. Continue, please.
But I have no recollection of that.
No recollection.
And only that one time at the White House Historical Association?
That's the only time that I'm aware of that I might have possibly been in the same room with him.
Did you have an initial impression of Mr. Epstein?
I have no recollection of Mr. Epstein. I just told that he was in a room at a dinner that we were hosting for the White House Historical Association.
What was your understanding of what Mr. Epstein did for work?
I knew nothing about him. He was there as an invited guest by the White House Historical Association. That's my.
And no one else informed you of what Mr. Epstein did for work?
No, but we had hundreds and thousands of people who came to the White House. I was not informed of what people did or didn't do for work, especially someone that I never even had a conversation with.
Do you know who invited Mr. Epstein to the White House?
I can only tell you what I know. As a guest, invited by the White House Historical to attend a dinner to thank people who gave money to the White House Historical Association for the upkeep and maintenance of the White House. That's what I was informed of in preparation for coming here.
So you were First Lady of the United States, and there were people in the White House that you didn't know about, that your staff didn't make you aware of. Really? And we're supposed to believe that. And it's not like Jeffrey Epstein was Ralph Bailey or some lowly Congress member. He was a mover and shaker. He was a guy that had the ears of all of these people who are now struggling to tell the truth. The guy at Harvard that left, Casey Wasserman, the head of LE28. It's nothing but entitled rich white men and a few brothers, maybe some Norwegians and some, because Europe is rattling right now. Keir Starker, the Prime Minister of Great Britain, is in big trouble because of Mendelsohn, Peter Mendelsohn, who was arrested. They're taking this seriously. But we, not really. And get a load of this denial. This is, and it'll get back to Bill Clinton, but listen to this denial. Number 5.
Her husband said that he doesn't remember meeting Epstein during his time in office. Took trips with him, or took trips on his plane to New York, England, Japan, China, Singapore, Bangkok, Brunei, Rwanda, Mozambique, South Africa, France, Norway, and many more. So it's really not a question of where they went together, but where they didn't go together.
That's funny.
Do you know the colloquial name for Little St. James Island?
No.
It's Epstein Island. Okay, I'll refer to it in both contexts. To your knowledge, did your husband ever visit Little St. James Island?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. Do you know who Doug Band is?
Listen to this.
He worked for my husband, yes.
So, by reports on the press, he was a key architect of the Bill Clinton post-presidency, a top aide, the body man, the fixer, a counselor, and a close advisor. Would you disagree with any of those?
He worked for him in a number of capacities.
About 10 years, 02 to 12, I think it was.
We worked for him. I
Okay,
don't know.
Give or take,
I can't
fair to say,
answer that.
give or take a decade.
Mm.
Okay. He's on the record as asserting that Mr. Clinton did indeed visit Epstein Island. Do you think he's lying?
Yes.
Okay. Bill Clinton.
So everybody's lying. Everybody's lying. Virginia Giuffre, who spotted him on the island, a man that worked for him for a decade. What, he just wanted to turn on him after working for him for 12 years, just throw him under the bus and make up a lie and possibly be called and subpoenaed for perjury? Who do these people think they are? And remember who they are. Remember that Bill Clinton is a pathological liar. Remember Paula Jones. Paula Jones in 91. He lied in 92 about Jennifer Flowers. Remember, that almost upended his whole presidency. She was the broadcaster back in Arkansas that he was stooping for years. Then there was, of course, Monica Lewinsky. I never had sex relations with that woman. And just destroyed a young girl's life to this day. To this day, she still gets heckled. She's put her life back together, Lewinsky has. And Hillary led the charge. As if she didn't know who her husband is. Like, you ladies know your husband. You know whether your husband's cheating on you or not. And some of you have been cheating on, and you know it. You can tense it. You can feel it. There was Catherine Willey in 97, the woman that he accosted in the White House. She passed the lie detector test. It's not admissible, but she passed one. There was the denial of Monica Lewinsky through 98. There was the perjury. The man perjured himself. He lied with his hand on a Bible. And the Democrats didn't have the gall to impeach him, so they censured him. That's on his record. Go look it up. This guy is a pathological liar. If you will put your hand on a Bible and lie while the sitting president of the United States, there's nothing that can come out of your pie hole that I'm going to believe. Let's begin with him calling a dead woman a liar.
Moving on to Virginia Roberts Giuffre. Are you familiar with her?
Mm-hmm.
As has already been established, she has stated in numerous sworn statements, including a sworn deposition in the Maxwell trial, that she saw you on the island with Jeffrey Epstein. And in fact, this morning, her family shared her diary with me. And in it is a quote wherein she writes, quote, Bill Clinton met 2 times island with 2 girls, C, T, G, M, and J, E. What is your reaction to that?
It's not true.
Who lies in a diary? Come on, ladies. Who lies in a diary? You know who lies in a diary? Absolutely no one. Why would you lie to yourself? I used to keep a journal. It's a journal if it's a man. It's a diary if it's a woman. And you don't lie to yourself. The whole point of a journal, at least for me, was I want to be 63 years old and see what I was truly thinking when I was 25. I lost that son of a gun. I left it in a safety deposit box, and I closed the account. I forgot that I had the safety deposit box, and I had like my lucky stuff, and it was a Saturday Evening Post book that was empty that had Norman Rockwell on the cover, and I just jotted down notes of the day and what I was going through working at the LA Sentinel, and I would pay a lot of money to read that right now. What a 25-year-old Ralph was like thought-wise, but nobody lies. Nobody lies in a deposition, lies on a diary. And all he's saying is, yeah, she was lying. She was lying. I was never there. But who's the pathological liar? Who lied? Who was convicted of perjury? There's nothing you can believe that comes out of this man's mouth. And believe it or not, I voted for him twice. I loved him. I remember I had just moved here in 92, that November. I had moved here that summer. And it was the first time in my life as a liberal Democrat that a Democrat had won. I didn't vote in 80. I've told you that because they had announced that Reagan had won. I voted for freaking Walter Mondale in 84, holding my nose. I had to vote for Michael Dukakis in 88, knowing that that was going to be a defeat. And 92 was the first time in my life that a Democrat. I was so happy that night. I remember I was living at the Edgewater and I was like jubilant about it. Love the guy, but he's dishonest as the day is long. Here's Bill on the hot tub.
Do you ever receive a massage or have physical contact from her or anyone else on that trip?
You've seen the pictures. There was one time when I was sitting up and I got a back rub, a neck rub.
Okay.
And I think Shantae did it, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Did you ever visit Epstein's Little St. James Island?
No.
We have Virginia Guthrie, who has testified seeing you on the island with 2 young girls. Did this occur at all? Okay.
This is my favorite. We're going to skip one. This is my favorite. This has to do with another testimony. It's not just Virginia Dufresne. It's not just Doug Bann. Everybody's lying on poor Bill, including Maria Farmer.
You know who Maria Farmer is? Maria Farmer was employed by Jeffrey Epstein and abused by him for a number of years. And she first reported her abuse to the New York PD and FBI in 1996. And she states that she has personal knowledge that you visited Jeffrey Epstein's house 3 to 4 times while you were the sitting president between 1995 and 1996. And she says she knows this based on photographs that Ghislaine Maxwell showed to her, as well as discussions with the staff. So let me ask you, Mr. President, did you visit Jeffrey Epstein's house while you were president?
I do not remember doing that. I do not believe I did. But all I can tell you is I don't remember being there.
It's remarkable that everybody's lying. That everybody's lying. This is my favorite. However, this is my favorite. He does. If I have the audio right, and I may be wrong, this is one where he says he doesn't remember a helicopter flight. Now, come on, y'all. I've never been on a helicopter, and I'm sure the president's been on many helicopters. He's been on Marine One several times, but there's a difference between Marine One, because that's damn near like a plane, and a normal helicopter, which is like a 4-seater. But who doesn't remember a helicopter ride? Here's more from Lion Willie.
Did you ever fly in a helicopter with Ghislaine Maxwell?
Ever anywhere? I have no idea.
No idea.
Well, at
No
least
idea.
one of the survivors claims that you flew in a helicopter with Ghislaine Maxwell to the island.
Did you ever?
Ben, I did not do that. I've never been to that island.
Okay.
My question, Mr. President, were you ever aware or engaged in any of these sexual orgies?
Are these on the island where he's testified that he's
No,
not
ma'am,
been on the
I
island?
was never on the island.
Were you ever on any island in the Virgin Islands?
To travel for a trip with his wife, which is on the public record? I'm
With
sorry,
Jeffrey
what's your
Epstein?
question?
No,
You were never in the Virginia Islands?
in the Virgin Islands
with
with Jeffrey Epstein, no.
Okay, thank you.
She characterized your relationship with her as warmer.
Yes.
your question?
Would you agree with that?
Warmer than with Jeffrey Epstein?
Correct.
Oh, yes, but it was not in any way sexual.
Yeah, I think that was just an added thing. I wasn't supposed to be on there.
I think I was supposed to be Maxwell at the end.
Yeah. But do you understand? Like I said, I've never been on a helicopter, but I've witnessed it. Do you understand what the process is where you got to get down low and you got to get into this little compartment? Are you telling me that we're supposed to believe that 3 or 4 different people lied on Bill Clinton, but the liar, the guy that perjured himself, is telling the truth, and that he doesn't recall ever being on a helicopter with Ghislaine Maxwell? He didn't say it didn't happen. He doesn't recall. Does anybody believe that? Even the most ardent liberal Bill Clinton supporter, do you really believe that that man doesn't remember a helicopter ride? That's like saying, I don't remember being on a cruise. It's kind of a different form of transportation that we don't normally take, that would absolutely stand out in your mind. It'd be like saying, Mr. Bailey, do you remember being on the submarine? I can't really recall. I mean, I've been on boats and I've been under the water, but I can't remember if I had to go down the little ladder and turn the thing and get under the. No, I don't recall. It's an extraordinarily rare form of transportation, the helicopter. And yet Mr. Clinton, our former president, doesn't recall ever being on a helicopter, because if he admitted that, then they could tie that to his trip with Ghislaine Maxwell to the island. This thing is insane. And, you know, I didn't play the audio of Nancy Mace, who was in an interview, and she said, this is all for naught. Ain't nobody going to jail. They're all lying. I don't know why. Some are getting closer. Some have jobs. So Larry Summers at Harvard had to step away, and there are a couple of people that have had to step away from their gigs. But beyond that, this is a rich, white, entitled group of very powerful men. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I don't know if you can believe her, but she's on the record when she was still in good with the president that he said, I can't let these papers out because my friends are going to get hurt. This is the most, you know, and as you know, I have avoided this because it's such a snake hole. It's such a rabbit hole. It's such a, just a deep divide, and nobody really knows the truth. But I think we all know that these men participated in this thing, and there's not an ounce of evidence other than the testimony of these people. And when you're a powerful man like the president, you can say that Doug Bann lied, Virginia Giuffre lied, Marie Farmer lied. Everybody's lying but me, but I'm the only one that actually lied under oath. I'm the only one that destroyed a young 21-year-old. Oh, did I have that? Do we have that? I don't think I have it. I have it. I know I wasn't going to send it to you. I was going to play it myself. Listen to this one. This might be the best of the group, where they set him up, basically. It's not fair, but it is a great bite. Here it is. Listen to this. Hang on.
Did you know one of the witnesses who testified in the Epstein cases that Epstein said, you quote, like them young? Why would Epstein say that about you?
Are you asking his opinion? You're asking him to think about why Mr. Epstein would say something about him?
Why would Epstein say that about
she's asking you to try to be in Mr. Epstein's mind and guess at what Mr. Epstein would have thought about.
Clinton likes them young, referring to girls.
First of all,
What's not true?
that I have any interest in underage.
I didn't say underage, I said young.
But it's still not true.
Is an intern young?
Yes.
Did you see how Nancy Mace set him up? Did you see that? I have no interest in underage women. I didn't say underage women. I said young. Well, I have no interest in young women. Well, you were approximately in your early 50s when you were in the White House. And Monica Lewinsky, I believe, was just at drinking age at 21. And you certainly had an affair with her, and I'm not even going to get into explicit details, in the Oval Office. That was a beautiful setup by Nancy Mace. Let's go. It's remarkable. It's remarkable that it just doesn't pass the smell test, that 4 different people were willing to lie on a former president, and the former president just happens to be a perjurer, but we're supposed to believe Bill Clinton, who, again, if you talk to people from Arkansas, from Hope, or from Little Rock, they will tell you there's about a 30-year-old black man walking around with Bill Clinton's genes. But they covered that up as well. It is remarkable what is going on with this Epstein files. And remember, the Trump administration has defied the law. There's still 3 million pages that haven't been released. This thing could go on for years, and I don't think anybody, I think Nancy Mace is right, Congressman out of South Carolina. Ain't nobody going to jail. And everybody's lying. Lutnick lied. The other member of the cabinet who claimed that he had never been to the island, and then they reminded him that he'd been there with his wife and his kids. Like, why would you lie about that? That seems innocent enough, but everybody's lying. Quick timeout. We'll check the board, get into the 5. A Valley Fever, the annual Valley Fever Walk is coming up this Saturday. We're going to talk with either Danielle Colbert or Sarah Kelly at the top of the hour. And in the 5 o'clock hour, the Cardinals. Chew on this, Mr. Burdick. What do you think of this idea? $29 a person.
Oh, I've seen this.
$29 a person, and you get all the Coke and Diet Coke you can drink, all the hot dogs you can eat, all the peanuts you can eat, all the brats you can eat, all the nachos you can eat, all the chips and the fries for $29 a person.
On top of your ticket, but yes, I'm all for it.
I think that's not a bad idea.
I called upon the Dodgers this morning saying, why don't we have this?
That's
I get that.
At Dodger Stadium, $29 is a hot dog and a beer.
That's what I'm saying.
Like literally.
I know.
Literally. Not that I would know because, you know, I dine in the clubhouse with the celebrities and Mike Perrin. You know, a line, hot dogs. No. A prime rib, turkey, little fettuccine. You kidding me? I don't deal with the riff. Although I am going with my boy Chad. Gonna have to eat hot dogs. Quick time out. Not a lot of time before we get in the 5. It's TRBS on a Tuesday. Don't go anywhere.
News Talk.
Big Mike.
RN.
Wednesday edition, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton Show will break down the results of the first major contested primary of the 2026 election cycle. What happened in Texas. Also, we'll fill you in North Carolina and Arkansas as all those states are underway. Plus, the absolute latest on the war in Iran. You won't want to miss it. Come hang with us. Wednesday edition, Clay and Buck.
Live 9 to noon. News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
What the are you doing? Stand 10 yards in the backfield. Get up on the line. Don't you know how much time's on the clock? You almost cost us a chance, son.
That's Bill Parcells in the 1980s yelling at Mike Arier, Garza's boy, who played for the Giants in the 1980s and along with the Green Bay Packers. And as I talk about when I talk about Mike's business, Big Mike's Rage and Barbecue, he's used the dedication and hard work and concentration needed to make it a Garza's kid playing for the New York Football Giants, and has turned that and focused on his catering business for the last 25 years. Big Mike's Rage and Barbecue has been raging. No matter what your event, I know graduation's coming up. There's all kind of parties, weddings, whatever your event is, call Mike Arier. His food is outstanding. He comes with his rig, his crew. They do the cleaning, they do the cooking, they do the serving. You do absolutely nothing. Call him today at 393-5507. That's 393-5507. Tell them Ralph Bailey told you all about it. Mike Arier and Big Mike's Ragin' Barbecue.
Look up in the sky. Yeah, that's what they cry. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's them. It's Paul Sheldon's team, that well-oiled machine of Christine, Kelly, and Lynn. Okay, not superpowers, but still thousands of hours deciphering Medicare's whims, fighting the good fight, learning what works right. Christine, Kelly, and Lynn. So it might seem old-fashioned, but hard work with passion most often gives you the win. And the trio that knows are those Medicare pros, Christine, Kelly, and Lynn. You know, actually to many, they are superheroes. Christine, Kelly, and Lynn.
When Medicare matters, our team has the answers. Team Paul Sheldon.
398-2298.
Jackson Hewitt knows taxes are complicated, and with multiple jobs and tax forms, they're like sonata complicated. Our no surprise pricing keeps things simple. Jackson Hewitt does your taxes for only $149 or less. And since we know all the new tax codes, you could get thousands back. So what are you waiting for? Hurry. File with Jackson Hewitt today for only $149 or less, guaranteed. Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
You still thinking job change in the new year? Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy. IT? Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI. That's what I did. Really? How? Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up. Sweet. Are classes online or on campus? Both. Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner.
Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
The Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, live 9 to noon. Now back to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Headed into 5. Do you know somebody with valley fever? Have you ever suffered with valley fever? I struggled with it for 2 weeks, was in the hospital. Well, the annual Valley Fever Walk is coming up, and a representative, either Danielle Colbert or Sarah Kelly, is going to join us right after these important words. Don't go anywhere. Is she here? No, they're coming.
This is AM 1180 KERN. Green Acres. This is 96.1 FM. Bakersfield. Online at KERNradio.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Efforts to get Americans out of the Middle East continue.
The State Department has been forced to close several embassies to the public, shut down at least one consulate, ordered the departure of embassy staff and families from at least 6 nations, and advised Americans in 14 countries to leave immediately, despite the war closing major airports.
We need to have contact information for Americans that need assistance.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says as options to get out open up, they need to be able to call these people.
We have identified and continue to identify charter flights, military flight options, and expanded commercial flight options.
The department says more than 9,000 Americans safely returned from the Middle East since the weekend. Ed Donahue, Washington.
The war against Iran has had a drastic effect on oil prices, with gasoline going up 11 cents a gallon between Monday and Tuesday, according to AAA. Petroleum analyst Patrick DeHaan with Gas Buddy says if the conflict escalates, the price of oil, gas, and dependent services like transportation will continue to rise.
Watching those numbers move in real time, it seems like oil prices are tied to the opposite of what the stock market is doing. Stock markets plummet. Oil prices are up on the continued increase in escalations in the Middle East. The threat of Iran attacking vessels transiting through the Strait of Hormuz continues to push oil prices higher. The uncertainty as Iran attacks various sites within the Middle East, destabilizing the region.
Results on elections in North Carolina, Texas, and Arkansas should be coming in pretty soon. Analysts are particularly watching the Senate race in Texas as 3 Republicans battle it out for their party's nomination and 2 Democrats face off in their contest. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 403 points, S&P lower by 65. More at Town Hall.
Know what today
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution.
Danielle, nice
It
to meet
doesn't
you,
matter if
Danielle.
you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-583-0141. Don't lose hope.
Oh, is that
TRA
right?
can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the
So you still get
IRS.
23?
Generous programs
Well,
are
you
now
report it?
available that can give you a fresh start.
Really?
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over
Yeah, I was there
1,000 five-star reviews on
3
Google
years.
and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to
Oh,
be
I hate
afraid of the IRS any
Yeah,
longer.
almost.
End your tax
I hate it
nightmare today
I
by
was a
visiting
print
us
guy
online at tra.com or
transitioned
call
into it, and it took me 6 months to write the video.
800-583-0141. That's 800-583-0141. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
And I got used to,
From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
He believes an ice-free zone should be created in Delano. I'm Chris Davis. The mayor of Delano says Latino citizens are being hunted, but he does not want that happening on city property. At the end of last night's Delano council meeting, Mayor Salvador Solorio
So I'm gonna ask
Ruiz
you a bunch of
requested
dumb
that an
questions.
item be
You have
added
to
to the
act
agenda
as
for
if
the
the
next
audience
meeting to discuss a proposal for an ordinance to ban federal agents from city property. Mayor Ruiz says he's been working with the city attorney to look at legal options to put residents first. Gas is going up, but not just in California. The average price for a gallon of regular went up across the country to $3.11 overnight. Meanwhile, California's average for a gallon has gone up to $4.64, says Gas Buddy. There's speculation that gas prices could go up because Iran may block oil exports from leaving the Middle East. You may have heard about the ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court Monday that says California's law that bans school authorities from telling parents if their kids are transgender, transitioning, or changing their pronouns is unconstitutional. What that means for California is that the law or the ban is now itself banned. The court sided with a ruling from a lower court against California. Justice delayed temporarily for a man accused of beating his girlfriend to death with a stick in 2024. The murder trial for Salvador Navarro Razo was put off Monday, but Navarro Razo is expected back in court next week to possibly talk about another trial date. Police and prosecutors say a friend of Angelica Castillo Fernandez found her body in the trailer where the couple lived after getting a call from Navarro Razo saying she was in a better place after a fight about money. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour and when it's on FM 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
What do you think, this is the army where you shoot them a mile away? You gotta get up close like this. Bada bing, you blow their brains all over your nice Ivy League suits.
It's the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Now make sure you leave the house when you make the call. You understand me? You hear me? Call from an outside line. I mean it.
Call in or text to 661-842-KERN. That's 661-842-5376. Listen live at KERNradio.com. Now, the host you've been waiting all day for. Live from the KERN studio, here's Ralph Bailey.
Final hour of the broadcast on this Tuesday, 3rd day of March. Are you ready? You ready? You sure? It's our anniversary. Do you know what today is? It's our anniversary. Anniversary. It's our anniversary. 13 years with American General Media. Just celebrating a little bit. We still got lots to do in the final hour. As we get to the bottom of the hour, we're going to talk about the Cardinals deal that I just told you about. $29 for each person, and you get endless Coke and Diet Coke, hot dogs, peanuts, brats, nachos, chips, and fries. The Cardinal deal. It's a genius plan by the Cardinals.
And it's a great way to get all the family over at the ballpark too.
It really is. You're absolutely right. They're going to more families because literally a hot dog and a 16-ounce beer at Dodger Stadium will cost you $29 easy.
Or if you're a single dad, you have 4 kids, you might as well take them all to a ball game, get 2 of those packages. You can feed everybody the whole day.
There you go. There you go. And I'll tell you about the craziest bet on the books, and it has to do with Iran. I'll pull that out for you. But in the meantime, Danielle Colbert, as those of you who are viewing on YouTube can see, has joined us live in studio. She's a former 23 morning anchor who is now with Kern Medical and their Valley Fever Walk. The 10th annual is coming up this Saturday. Danielle, thanks for coming to the studio with us.
Thank you for having me.
So let's begin at the beginning and pretend that it's not our disease and
Right.
not everybody that's listening knows about it. Maybe there are new folks to our community.
Mhm.
Break down, where are we with Valley Fever?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so true because I'm not from Bakersfield. And when I first moved here, everyone was like, have you heard of Valley Fever? I had never heard of it. And I'm from Southern California. I've
Yeah.
lived in Arizona and Texas, but it has just increased so much in the past few years. But, you know, if you don't know, it's a disease that's found in our soil, mostly undisturbed soil. And it can manifest itself in many different ways. You know this very well.
Yeah.
And it can often go unrecognized. Dr. Johnson, who's with the Valley Fever Institute at Kern Medical, will tell you that many people have symptoms. It can be similar to a cold, and you don't realize it's Valley Fever because then the symptoms go away. But sometimes if they're sticking around a little bit too long, that's when you need to ask your doctor for a Valley Fever test and possibly, you know, get that further treatment.
Where are we in terms of knowledge? I mean, it's because it's all over the place. Some people, it can literally kill.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, like me, it put me in the hospital for 2 weeks. I had double pneumonia. My oxygen level was low. Others can just walk it off. It can turn into meningitis. I know a gentleman who had meningitis who
Yeah.
damn near died as well. I mean, where are we in terms of knowledge?
Yeah, and we just did a podcast too with Dr. Johnson, and he goes into depth for almost an hour about the status of their research and treatment and vaccines and stuff like that. And it is something that they're working on as far as treatment. And I know that they're working on a vaccine for dogs as well because dogs are not immune to Valley Fever.
Yeah.
So a lot has happened in the last couple of years, and Dr. Johnson would be the one who'd be able to speak more to that. But progress is happening because it is more and more rampant in our states, and it's getting scary, but progress is on its way.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us about the walk, 10th annual.
Yes, 10th annual. It's this Saturday, March 7th. It's our first year doing it out at Riverwalk Park, so we're really excited to be at that venue. It starts at 9 a.m., but gates open at 8:30. The walk, you know, we say Valley Fever Walk, but it's not something where you have to go out and get competitive or get sweaty. It's more of a symbolic lap around the lake, you know. And then we have a ton of vendors out there. We have over 40 vendors that are going to be out there this year where you can shop and, you know, explore. And then we have, you know, dignitaries that come out. We have a raffle with some amazing prizes like stagecoach tickets, med spa. Local med spas have donated baskets. We have restaurants, gift cards, things like that. But I mean, we talk about all of the fun things out there, but we also have our Valley Fever Institute experts out there so that you're able to just come have that conversation with them in that informal setting, get that education and hang out with them and learn about Valley Fever. And we have a lot of families that come because they've lost a loved one to Valley Fever. We have people who have just been diagnosed and want to learn more. And so it's you get to have fun, but you get to learn a lot there too.
And the county is doing a wonderful job. Bryn Kerrigan and her crew, her whole team has done an incredible job. I was part of the early part of the campaign where they were on television and on billboards and talking to people like me who had Valley Fever. Now I think you can see it on television. It's David Torres, the local attorney, Quan Louie, and a young Highland High School student, and Bryn Kerrigan herself is one of the examples because she had a really rough time of it.
She did.
And they've done a really nice job of bringing awareness to the community.
Yeah, and that's so true. And that's the main mission of the Valley Fever Walk is to bring that awareness. And every year we get more and more people. It gets bigger and bigger because that awareness is expanding, which is awesome. But then every time we realize we still have so much work to do to teach people about it. And people ask, how would I even know if I have Valley Fever? They don't know what the symptoms might be.
Right.
So there's a lot to still do, but this is just part of it.
Yeah. And again, these are questions that I know, but I have to ask, is it communicable?
No. So you would get it from the soil, you know. And that's why oftentimes I know pregnant women are a little bit more susceptible to it. Obviously, farm workers out there in that undisturbed soil need to be more knowledgeable about it because they might be more exposed than the average person. But that's the main thing, is learning about the first signs and symptoms. You know, Rob Purdy, he worked with the Valley Fever Institute for a long time, but he was also a patient. And his first story was always when he was first diagnosed, he woke up on New Year's Day, January 1st, and he thought he had a hangover. And it never went away. So weeks down the line, he finally got that Valley Fever test and ended up having Valley Fever, but it had manifested itself into meningitis, and he was receiving, you know, the medication through the port on his head and all of that. And it's just so many things that you don't realize how bad it can get, you know, and that's what we really need to get people to be aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. Danielle Colbert is our guest. We're talking about the Valley Fever Walk and Valley Fever. And like I said, I was incredibly fortunate that I had a really good doctor because I tested negative.
Wow.
But yet all my symptoms were consistent. And so they did a biopsy. They went into my lungs. They pulled something out. And they had already had me on the diflucan, which is one of the medications they use. And lo and behold, I had it. And I remember my friend Mike came, visited me at the hospital, and he said, "You need to get out of this bed," because I hadn't been out of the bed in like 3 or 4 days. And I tried to walk around just the floor of the hospital, and I literally couldn't do it. I literally had to stop in the doctor's lounge and sit down because I could not make just a lap on the floor. It was that bad. And then finally, my oxygen level got back out of the 80s and back into the 90s. But it's a frightening disease. It really, really is.
Scary.
Just because you don't know that much about it, and the doctors don't even really know much about it. And the other thing that is incredible about it is that it's our disease. You mentioned Arizona and Texas, but it's primarily a Central Valley disease.
It is, yeah. And that's another thing too. We get a lot of doctors that aren't from Bakersfield, aren't from Kern County. So sometimes they don't even know right off the bat, especially if they're new in their career, to be doing that test for Valley Fever.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to be your own advocate. And
absolutely,
even if it doesn't end up being Valley Fever, at least get the test so you can rule it out. But Dr. Johnson in our podcast was also talking about, you know, making our own physicians and our local medical staff aware of the disease, because it's, if they trained, you know, on the East Coast, it might not be part of their curriculum right off the bat, but when they come to Bakersfield, it's something that they need to know about.
Yeah, I have a friend that was in Florida on vacation for 2 weeks and got sick, and it was completely misdiagnosed. They were just absolutely ignorant.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a matter of they just got it wrong. They didn't know anything about the disease. I mean, this was 15, 20 years ago. We've advanced further than that, but back in the day, it was pretty doggone scary.
Yeah.
Tell us, final, I'll leave you with this. This is not just for Valley Fever patients or anything like that. Everyone is welcome to the walk.
Everyone is welcome. It is wheelchair accessible. We have a lot of families with strollers and little kids come out. We have kids games, a kids corner. We have a doggy corner so people can bring their pets out. And it's a lot of fun. And yeah, like you said, I mean, a lot of survivors do come out. We have a special gift for them. We have special price tickets for survivors. It's as low as $5 if you don't want the t-shirt. So we just want everybody to come on out, learn about Valley Fever, and have some fun while doing it.
Outstanding. Nice meeting you, Danielle.
Yes,
thanks for
nice
coming
to
in.
meet you.
And I understand you got a big celebrity MC.
Oh yeah, Mike Hart. Have you heard of him?
Mike Hart. Never heard of Billy Bear. I love Mike Hart.
We do too.
Tell Mike I said hi.
I
next time you talk
will.
to him. Although he's about to call in right now.
I'm sure.
Yeah, believe me, we're gonna hear from Mike. Turn to 96.1 when you're driving home.
I sure
He's
will.
like Beetlejuice. He'll pop up.
Yeah, he'll pop up. I'm telling you.
Just like him.
Trust me. Nice meeting you, Danielle.
You too.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Quick time out. We'll come back and talk a little baseball. And I've got the bet of the century. Wait till you get a load of this. In the meantime, you're listening to the Ralph Bailey Show on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KRN. We're streaming live at kernradio.com. Sweet. Thank you very much. That was great. That was
News
great.
Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
That was great.
Wednesday's Armstrong and Getty show. Well, so
gonna
far,
try to make it out
unfortunately,
there. I
we've
really
lost
am.
6 guys and 3 planes. We'll keep our eye on the war and how it's going.
Plus, why Gen Z is really unprepared for the modern workplace and what employers can do about it. This is not judging neurotic kids. This is trying to understand where they're at and why they're so strange. Okay, now I'm dashing. On the next Armstrong and Getty show.
Weekdays noon to 2 on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
It's that man again, Ralph Bailey for Adaptive Networks. Business owners, how many times have you called your IT company and felt like just another ticket number? Well, at Adaptive Networks, exceptional customer service isn't just the promise, it's how they do business every single day. And nobody knows that better than the folks here at American General Media, because they are a client of ours and we are a client of theirs. IT is incredibly important for a radio station. We can't depend on somebody saying, well, we'll be out there tomorrow, because all you hear is nothing. So it's do or die for us. That's why we depend on Adaptive Networks. And when you call, you'll actually talk to a real person who knows your name, understands your business, and genuinely cares about solving your problems. No phone trees, no runaround, no attitude. That's what Adaptive Networks are all about. Call today at 661-241-0638. That's 241-0638. Join the IT network that American General Media uses every day.
Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day.
No one can beat us, no one can touch us. You won't find better prices. Shop and compare, we don't care. Take a look our way. That wasn't her husband, was it? And come into Carpet Outlet. That wasn't her husband, was it?
Like a teenager. Carpet Outlet Plus is celebrating 30 years in business by offering you no interest.
It's probably her stepson, because she doesn't have she's too young to have a teenager.
Maybe brother.
Or brother, yeah.
Carpet in the bedrooms, all from one trusted place. Over 70,000 customers can't be wrong. It's probably been time to change your floors for a while, so call, click, or stop by today. Carpet Outlet Plus, 3.5 blocks west of 99 on Rosedale Highway.
Carpet Outlet Plus. Every day is sale day.
The playoff chase is heating up as the Condors host the Tucson Roadrunners for two big games this weekend. Friday, it's a $3 beer Friday with Michelob Ultra and Mango Kart, just $3 till the start of the second period. It's also Faith and Family Night, presented by Michael K. Brown Landscaping and Kern Pools, with a performance from Bakersfield Worship Project. Saturday, it's First Responders Night with an emergency vehicle parade, presented by 5-0 Driving School and Eyewitness News. Stores open at 6, puck drops at 7. Fun starts at just $15 at condorstown.com or by calling 324-PUCK.
This is Condorstown. We've all been there. Sleepless nights, mind racing, wondering if your business's security service is really protecting what matters. At Bay Alarm, we can put your security insecurities to bed. Video security, burglar alarms, fire alarms, access control, 24/7 monitoring, and more. Our advanced technology and personalized support ensure you can rest easy, knowing we're here for you, your people, and your business. Visit bayalarm.com to talk to a local security expert. Bay Alarm, we got you.
You're listening to The Ralph Bailey Show. Catch me weekday morning 6 to 9 a.m. on First Look with Scott Cox, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Eight 842-537-6842 KERN. No Mike Hart?
Not yet.
Wow. Where you at, Mike? Your former morning co-host was on the broadcast. No cameo from you? Big TV star.
Unless I missed him.
Plus, he's the host of the Valley Fever Walk this week. I was the host one year. Is that a bad sign that I was never asked back? I walked the place and I told my story, and I remember I've got pictures I could show you guys. I'll find it someplace where I have the big Valley Fever, the big blue Valley Fever T-shirt. It was a horrible experience. It really, really was. And just the worst thing that can happen when you're ill is the unknown. You know, when Hemmel came to me and said, you're testing negatively, but we still think you have it. So I'm like, you're not sure? You know, when your doctor's not sure, it's a little scary. And then when I don't know if you've ever had trouble breathing, but that's the scariest thing in the world, where you just walk 10, 15, 20 yards and you're out of breath and you can't take deep breaths. I mean, it was pretty harrowing. 842-5376, 842-KERN. Let's try to clear the board.
Ralph, did you hear Israel say Turkey is the new Iran?
No. I don't want to talk about the situation any longer, but still read them, but don't submit anymore. Let's talk about something else. Let's talk about Bill and Hillary. Nobody wanted to chime in on Bill and Hillary? What else you got?
We got a couple Bill and Hillary ones in here. Give me one sec.
Yeah.
Ralph, you're right. Bill Clinton's lying, or I think he meant lying, but in his defense, they all lie.
They're all lying. All of them. Everybody involved. If you knew this guy, and I'll find the audio. Maybe we'll play it tomorrow or Friday or Thursday. But I think it was Cindy McCain, John McCain's widow, who said everybody knew what Jeffrey Epstein was about. It wasn't a secret. And how could it have been? It's who he was. And even if you were involved with him prior to his conviction, and how did he get that sweetheart deal in Florida? Because he had blackmail on everybody. And like I said, I think he was a spy, and it's as divided as the war. Because you should have heard the women, and I selected that word purposely because I was going to choose another one, but the women on The View this morning and how they defended Bill Clinton, because they went over the audio as well, and they defended Bill Clinton. And here's what Whoopi Goldberg said. There's not one scintilla of evidence that proves any criminality of Hillary and Bill. Well, can't you say the same thing about Trump? You can say the exact same thing about Trump. In fact, you can go even further, where everybody, including Bill Clinton, I didn't get that audio where Clinton says, he never talked to me. I never believed that he had anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein. And again, if Epstein had something on Trump, don't you think he would have used it before they sent him to prison? Don't you think Ghislaine Maxwell would have used it before they sent her to prison? Don't you think Merrick Garland, who I think should also testify, if they had found something in these papers that implicated the president, don't you think they would have used it? Because again, remember, this thing goes 4 administrations deep. And the only reason that it's a situation now is because of Pam Bondi and this administration and how they campaigned with Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and everybody ginning it up that it's there, we're going to find it. And then those classic words by our top cop of the nation, it's on my desk. That's what created the whole. And then remember, they had the influencers come to the White House and they sent them away with these binders, these folders that had nothing new in them. This whole thing is just so mystifying. That's why I just, at the end of the day, I just realized everybody who associated with that man is guilty as hell. If at least at the minimum knowledge of what was going on. The other thing that mystifies me is why won't the survivors just come out and start naming names? Can anybody explain that to me? Call the show and walk me through that like I'm a 6th grader, because I really don't understand that. Those ladies that showed up at Pam Bondi's hearing before the Senate panel, why don't they just start naming names? Or give it to what Marjorie Taylor Greene wanted to do before she went back to Southern Georgia, was give it to me and I'll rate it on the House floor where she has immunity. She can do that and not libel anybody if that's what they're concerned about, getting sued. I just don't understand why they don't speak out. I really don't. But this thing, Europe is handling this thing much better than we are, where people are going to jail. Prince Andrew is about to go to jail, or I can't even call him that anymore because of what they implicated him about. And I think that's the way we ought to go with this thing. See who was connected to him financially. This guy was a mover and shaker. There's got to be something underneath the rock, but I don't think they want to find it. And I think, again, Nancy Mace is right. Ain't nobody going to jail. Ain't nobody going to be punished. And these survivors are never going to have justice. Never. What else you got?
Not sure how Hillary can deny ever knowing who he was or having seen him when there are several photographs of Bill and Hillary with Mr. Epstein.
Yeah, that's why I assumed that the photos that Lauren Boebert was showing were the ones where there's like a family style picture where Jeffrey Epstein's sitting right there. And the idea that she was first lady and he was invited to the White House and that she didn't meet him that night, that she didn't shake his hand that night. He was giving money to the White House Foundation or whatever it was. So you don't think she thanked him, at least, at minimum? She had guests there that she didn't schmooze with? Come on, it's just not credible. It just doesn't pass the smell test. And, you know, Bill, everyone lied on Bill. Everyone lied. Doug Band, his body man. Do you know what a body man is? It's kind of the assistant. If you watch The West Wing, it was the black kid that was Martin Sheen's body man that basically finds his glasses, makes sure he gets on the plane on time, makes sure he has the meetings. It's just the guy that is your right-hand guy, basically. And can be a female. But why would that guy turn on Bill Clinton? Why does Marie Farmer remember him visiting the island while he was in the White House? Why did Virginia Giuffre go to her grave insisting that she saw him on the island? It just happens that they're all lying, despite the fact that we know for a fact that Bill Clinton lied about Paula Jones. He lied about Jennifer Flowers. He lied about Monica Lewinsky, ruining her life. He lied about Catherine Willey. And if you listen to folks, and he perjured himself on the oath with his hand on the Bible. And again, if you talk to people in Hope, Arkansas or Little Rock, they'll tell you that there's a 30-something-year-old man walking around that is Bill Clinton's child, that he had an affair with a black woman. I believe her name was, somebody in the chat room mentioned Broderick, Juanita Broderick. And that was covered up. It is remarkable that what the rich and powerful can get away with. Just about anything, including murder in many cases. And if you go through the Clinton administration, you know, I can't state categorically, but there are several people, there are just a number of crazy deaths that surround. I don't have the time and the memory to get into it, but Google that. Google just like weird deaths around the Clinton family. Ron Brown was killed in an automobile accident. They found his body, and somehow there was a bullet hole in his skull. Vince Foster commits suicide in a park. Literally, have you ever heard of that in your life? Like, I'm not going to whack myself in my house. I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to drive down to Rock Creek Park, and then I'm going to blow my brains out. It's there, and there are more. There are like 3 or 4 weird deaths that surround the guy that ratted him out in prison. Died mysteriously. Quick time out. Last half hour of the broadcast. It's TRBS. Don't go anywhere.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Polls are beginning to close in primary elections in 3 states in a vote that marks the official beginning of midterm elections. Voters cast ballots Tuesday in North Carolina, Arkansas, and Texas. As war with Iran breaks out, Democrats and Republicans are figuring out who they want to lead their party into November's general election, when control of Congress and state houses around the country will be up for grabs. The most hotly contested races of the day are in Texas, with fierce competition on both sides of the aisle for U.S. Senate nominations. It's possible that the Republican campaign will continue into a runoff. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 403 points, the Nasdaq dropped 232, the S&P declined 63. More details at srnnews.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. From the KERN Newsroom, your live and local news update on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
I'm Chris Davis. In Delano, the mayor says an ice-free zone should exist on city property. Mayor Salvador Solorio Ruiz has proposed an ordinance to ban federal agents from entering city property. He has asked that it be put on the agenda for the next council meeting.
The murder trial for Salvador Navarro Razo has been postponed for now, with a new hearing scheduled for next week. He's accused of using a stick to beat to death his girlfriend, Angelica Fernandez, inside their trailer in 2024 after a fight over money. Kern County Treasurer and Tax Collector Jordan Kaufman says he will not seek re-election after serving for 31 years. He's endorsed Assistant Treasurer and Tax Collector Chase Nunnally. I'm Chris Davis in the KERN newsroom with news every half hour and when it breaks on FM 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN.
Hey folks, Scott Cox here for King Door Company. I had my garage door installed over 20 years ago and it still works like the day it was installed. So I know all about King Door's quality products, but let's talk service. At King Door Company, it's an obsession. Whether you're having your garage door installed, serviced, or repaired, you can count on King Door Company to do it right. And it all starts with training. All King Door techs have been through the King Door Academy, an on-site training center where technicians study the very latest in garage door technology so that when they show up at your house, they have all the experience and product knowledge they need to take care of your garage door. They really are the state of the art. And when you pair that expertise with King Door's legendary customer service, you get a service experience that can't be beat. So whether you need a new garage door or just service on an existing door, regardless of who built or installed it, count on the pros at King Door to do the job right. Just call 397-2744 or check them out online at kingdoor.com. King Door Company, the company with the pride of a lion.
Shut it down.
The JR Show, weekdays at 2 p.m.
So I'm not defending this woman. Yes, her attitude probably stinks because, well, she's from Bakersfield. Two, she's got to put up with dumb people calling 911 because, well, she's from Bakersfield. Which leads me to my other question. Who in the hell still calls 911 in this community? Expecting somebody's going to actually show up to your 911 call. Let's just be real.
The JR Show, weekdays at 2 p.m.
I'm JR Flores. Catch my show.
In Texas, any early numbers from the Texas primary on either side of the ballot? Either Republican or Democrat. On the Republican side, John Cornyn trying to keep his job after 24 years in the Senate, being challenged by the Attorney General, Ken Paxton, a man who's got some baggage, cheated on his wife, allegedly. He was impeached for fraud. He had a bribery charged against him, although he was acquitted, not only in the legislature, but in the court of law. But Republicans are scared to death that either Jasmine Crockett or James Tellerico will take advantage of that and flip the state. Part of the reason that they are heavily concerned is, remember, as I've tried to explain to you, Texas is a weird state in terms of voting. They voted for 2 weeks up until Friday. It's called early balloting. And then they stop for the weekend all the way to Monday. And then they start back up today. And then the polls closed about an hour ago, Texas time. And nobody's going to get a majority. The latest numbers had Ken Paxton, the Attorney General, leading 32-29-21, Wesley Hunt being the man out. That's why I think Wesley Hunt, the African-American helicopter pilot, has an opportunity to sway this election. Because 21% of the vote is significant in a three-man race. And if he comes out and says, and holds up Ken Paxton's hand or holds up John Cornyn's hand, it's enough to get him over the top. And of course, the DNC the Republican, the RNC, is praying that John Cornyn can hang on to this thing because they don't spend any money if Cornyn wins. But if Paxton wins with his baggage and the attacks that either Tellerico or Crockett are going to level, they're going to have to spend a lot of money. And the thing that has them concerned as well is the Cornyn, the incumbent, spent $71 million in a primary. Do you want to know what do you think Ken Paxton spent? If he spent 71, what do you think Paxton spent?
65?
$4 million.
Oh, wow, yeah, no.
And he's leading by 3 percentage points.
Huh?
That concerns the party. In fact, Mr. Cornyn spent more money than all of the candidates combined, including Jasmine Crockett and James Tellerico. That's crazy. You spend $71 million and you get 29% of the vote? That's concerning. And you're the longtime incumbent. He's been reelected 3 times. He's been in office 4 terms. Crazy. Anything?
Yeah, NBC is actually claiming the polls don't close actually for another 23 minutes. So they don't close until 6 o'clock our time.
Oh, that's right. That's 8 o'clock Texas time. My bad.
As of right now, 16% is in for at least the Republican side of this. Cornyn is leading at 44.8%. Paxton right behind him at 39.
Really?
That's what they're saying right now.
Early though. What about Hunt? Where is he?
Hunt is at 13.
Yeah, I think
Cornyn has a 22,000 vote lead at the moment.
Okay, what about on the Democratic side?
Democratic side, Crockett has the lead at 51.7%. Tellerico right behind her at 47.
Ooh.
51 to 47 is pretty close.
Yes, it is.
And there's
remember,
15,000 vote difference.
So it's early. That thing's not going to be.
That's actually at 13.5. There's less votes that are counted for that one than for the other.
And the reason Republicans are scared to death of this race is, like I said, I got off track, but they've been voting for 2 weeks, and then they stop and they start again today, and the polls close, as Chris said, in about 23 minutes. But the Democratic turnout has overwhelmed the Republican turnout in Texas, which is rare because Texas is a red state. And there's some inner workings of those numbers that they've examined, why Republicans are hairs on fire about losing Texas, because there's 100,000 vote difference in turnout in the first early 2-week voting, right? And of the 100,000 votes that are different than the Republican Party, 30% of that 100,000 are first-time voters. That's frightening because that means they're motivated. They have a reason to get up off their arse and go to the polls. And of that 30% that are voting for the first time, 12% are Republicans. So even if Cornyn, which he should, survive and get into a runoff with Paxton, they think that either Crockett or Tellerico could win. And remember, I'm on board with Tellerico. He's down by, what did you say, 4 percentage points, 51-47?
It's actually now shifted. It's 50.2% to 48.4.
See? Look at my man. Look at my man, like a racehorse, just tracking her down.
6,000 vote difference.
She was up 8 points when I told you that Tellerico's going to win, and I'm telling you he's going to win tonight. Jasmine Crockett is a cartoon character, and she did the kiss of death. She got Kamala Harris to endorse her. That was the kiss of death. I think Democrats in Texas are a little bit different than Democrats in California. I don't think they're as woke. I don't think they're as liberal. And Kamala Harris does not add anything to your campaign. Not at all. In fact, if anything, it's going to hurt her. He's going to track her down by the end of the night. And although, again, I am hoping that I'm wrong, actually. I want Jasmine Crockett to win. I think she's the much easier candidate to defeat. She's woke. She's a cartoon character. She's got audio that you could use in an advertisement of just some of the crazy things she said. And when she gets into that ethnic speech about y'all and this, that, talking like a fool, where she grew up in a private school. She went to a private college. She didn't even grow up in Texas. She's tried to play like I'm a proud Texan. No, you're not. You call what is a carpetbagger. You moved into a district. She's got 3 homes. She makes $175,000 a year. And she's got 3 different homes, one in Georgetown, one in Houston, and one where she grew up. Where do these people get this wealth on $175,000 a year? I don't know anybody that makes $175,000 a year who's got 3 homes. I really don't. Have you ever heard of that? I haven't. That's not $175,000 in 2026 is not a ton of money. It really isn't. But okay, whatever. But she's not going to win, much to my chagrin. She is not going to win. It's just not going to happen. And this is, and by the way, I should mention there are also primaries going on in North Carolina and Arkansas, but they're strict primaries, unlike ours, where it's the top two vote getters. The Republican is clear, the Democrat is clear. I think down in North Carolina, it is the former governor going up against, I think, a congressman out of there. And I don't know anything about the Arkansas race, but all eyes are going to be on this Texas thing, because if the Democrats flip Texas, we're going to lose the House and the Senate. There's no question about it. And what is fueling this, again, I don't mean to be redundant, but what's fueling this is that Democratic win in a Trump district. A Democrat, and I've never really looked up his name, but a Democrat went into a district down in Texas way, Uvalde, as a matter of fact, I believe it was, that area where the shooting took place at that school, elementary school in Uvalde, where a police officer was fairly recently, a couple of months ago, acquitted of doing nothing. They're trying to charge him with being negligent, and they acquitted him. But that was a district that Trump carried by 17 points. And a Democrat went in that very same district and won by 14 points. He didn't barely sneak it out. And if you look at the poll numbers, it's self-explanatory, where Trump has blown the minority vote with blacks. It's been cut in half. I think it went from 26 back to 12. With Latinos, it's gone from 45 to 25. I mean, imagine if you're a Latino and you're watching television, you're seeing these people, whether you agree with the immigration process or not, whether you agree with the idea that we should get rid of every illegal immigrant or not, it doesn't matter. If you're a Latino and you're seeing people being dragged out of their cars, being wrestled on the ground, them, laying in wait at Home Depot, laying in wait at court, where people are trying to do the right thing, of course you're angry at this administration. And a lot of pundits believe that that's what's fueling this, that it's all about Trump. That's at least what Katie Porter thinks. Her whole campaign here in California is F Trump. And to be blunt, I didn't really want to say this out loud, but right now, as vulnerable as the president is, it's not a bad strategy, because I think that the immigration, it's just so sad, because he absolutely owned it. I've been waiting to play, but we've had so many current events that I can't play it. But have you seen Joe Biden? Joe Biden has rolled out Joe again. And he was on the stump over this weekend, and he's as incoherent as he ever was. I just haven't had time to play the audio. Maybe we'll have time tomorrow. But he's claiming in a piece of audio, God, I should find it. Maybe I'll find it after the break. I've got it on my phone. But he's claiming that when he left in office, there were as many undocumented entrants that there was when he entered. And it's just a lie. And he's incoherent as he ever was. And it's just, he's like trying to defend his presidency. And it's like, Joe, don't you understand? You're the first president in the history of this 250-year republic where your own party told you, the leader of the free world, you ain't running. You ain't running. We're removing you. And if you don't do it voluntarily, we'll do it viciously. And Nancy Pelosi basically did exactly that. Where she went on television and said, well, it's his decision. It's his decision. Do you understand what that means when somebody says, should your incumbent president continue to run? And you're the Speaker of the House and you say, well, it's up to him. Instead of full-throatedly, vociferously saying, that's my jaw. There's some words I just can't say. Vociferously. You should be saying, of course he should run. He's our president. He's the incumbent. We're going to win. Instead, Nancy Pelosi was like, she did the Scooby-Doo. Oh, it's up to him. And that was the last domino to fall. And the very next day, Joe announced he's stepping aside. And yet, shame on Jill Biden, Jill, if I'm not pronouncing that, enunciating well. Jill Biden should be ashamed of herself, because she should have first never let him run for re-election, A. B, he should not be out speaking publicly now, telling lies about his immigration and his economy and just bumbling and mumbling and stumbling. I mean, the audio is scary. And it'll make you feel relieved because had he been the president, we'd be in a tough spot right now. They would have had to apply the 25th Amendment if he had gotten reelected. They really would have. Because again, we'll possibly play it tomorrow. Maybe I can find it on my phone. We can play it when we come back after this break. But he sounds horrible. Really does. This is our final break of the night. Don't forget the Kern Radio Studios are powered by Adaptive Networks for all your IT needs. Call Adaptive Networks at 661-241-0638 or hit them online at adaptive-net.com. And owner-operators Jennifer and Ryan Van Alstyne join the broadcast tomorrow at 3:30. In the meantime, final break of the night. These kids riding motorcycles, you see that? We got kids speeding through our parking lot on motorcycles. Where was I?
Signing us out.
Yes, this is the Ralph Bailey Show on Newstalk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. We're streaming live at KernRadio.com.
News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. Start your day right. First Look with Scott Cox, 6 to 9 a.m.
On the Wednesday edition of the First Look program, we'll talk a little medicine with our friend Dr. Vip Dev.
If you had a motorcycle, actually, it'd be a cool place to do laps in, especially at this time of night when there's no cars.
Whenever you're ready.
You ready? Why can't I hear myself? I can't hear myself. Hello? There it is. You ready? 3, 2. How do I do this? 3, 2. So now that they've released Bill Clinton's deposition on Epstein, we're supposed to believe that the guy that perjured himself literally and got censured, he should have been impeached, is telling the truth. And his body man, Doug Band, who was with him for a year, 10 years. 3, 2. So now that they've released the deposition of Bill Clinton, who perjured himself and should have been impeached, but was just censured for lying, we're supposed to believe him and disbelieve his body man, who's with him for a decade, Doug Band. We're supposed to not believe the late Virginia Giuffre or Maria Farmer, who saw him on the island during his presidency. Everybody's lying, but the one guy who's lied with his hand on a Bible. 3, 2. It's that man again. Look what's coming up on the Wednesday TRBS. Well, it's a Wednesday. Howard Marcus will join us, and our friends from Adaptive Networks, Jennifer and Ryan Van Alstyne, and the latest on Iran. All that plus me at 3. It's TRBS, News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. I'll see you at 3.
Trapped under credit card debt, medical bills, payday loans, or buy now, pay later plans, Chapter 7 bankruptcy could free you much sooner, in about 4 months and for a fraction of the cost. Stop the harassing calls and letters, rebuild your credit quickly, and clear the way for a fresh start. At Clean Slate BK Group, consumer Chapter 7 bankruptcies are all we do. We can help you erase credit card debt, medical bills, personal loans, even past due utility bills. Find out if you qualify at no cost and with no obligation. Go to csbk.com. This is an attorney advertisement. Your results may vary, and prior results do not guarantee a similar outcome. Clean Slate BK Group PC, located at 7 Penn Plaza, Suite 601, New York, 10001, is responsible for the content of this ad. For more information, visit csbk.com. That's csbk.com. Your clean slate starts here.
The Armstrong and Getty Show, weekdays noon to 2 on News Talk 96.1 and AM 1180 KERN. Now, back to the Ralph Bailey Show.
I can only give you country walks in spring.
Another good choice. Well, Nat King Cole to wrap up the broadcast on our anniversary. You don't have to do it. 13 years. I want to thank J.R. Flores, Chris Burdick. It's been a nice run. Hope it continues until I'm an old man. I'm just old now, but when I'm an old man. I was fortunate. I was very lucky in my career that I got into a genre that you could do into your 60s. Had I, I talked about earlier how I got whacked from television. I got whacked from the newspaper industry. And in the long run, it's the greatest thing that ever happened to me because the newspaper industry died. All the reporters that I knew in the 90s. And I get my hair cut downtown right almost across the street from the Californian, right around the corner from where it used to be on 17th and I. And I almost want to cry every time I see that building. I was only in there for a short time. I was a correspondent for almost a year, and I was just a staff writer for just a couple months. But I just remember how bustling that building was in the 90s. And just how every floor was busy. And I've told you guys the story that when I first started working there, my first couple of days, I would literally have to go outside and do like a lap around the building just to try to kind of clear my thoughts because the newsroom was so loud. And I was the cops guy, so I had a scanner on my hip that I had to pay attention to. And, you got Lois Henry screaming at this person. You got Rob Walters screaming at that person. Bob Price. I mean, they had a staff in the 90s when I was there. I'm guessing they might have probably had 4 to 6 editors and maybe 12 to 16 reporters. And now we don't even get a newspaper on the weekends. And that industry is it's a painful death. And television, would I really be still working on television at 63 if I'd stayed in that genre? Probably not. Folks have done it. Jim Hill is still working in LA, and I met Jim Hill when I was in 8th grade. Literally met him at LAX with Ed Skelly when we were in 8th grade. We were going to Hilton Head, my family, and we sat down to talk with Jim Hill, who was a former football player and has been with KCBS for literally 50 years. But that's the outlier. And I just fell into a genre that you can do as long as your voice holds up. Although this thing doesn't help now that we're televising on YouTube, get my ugly old mug with my acorn on my head. Cothry still is not giving me a referral. I keep asking him because I'm not a very vain guy. If you know me for a long time, I'm not really that vain because I used to walk around. You see this? See that patch? See how I have no hair back there? That's because I once had a carbuncle. Did you ever meet me when I had the carbuncle, Chris?
I think I did at one point, but I wasn't working here yet.
But if you saw it, you'd know it. Because it was a gargantuan, I don't even know what you call it. It's called a carbuncle, but it's just like it was like this big. And I didn't give a damn. I was dating 2 women at the time, then ultimately one. She's a beautiful, beautiful woman. And the only time I was really paranoid about it is when I would go to church or go to a ball game because there'd be somebody sitting directly behind me. And the girl I was dating, her son loved it. He would sit behind me and play with it. I didn't give a damn, and I finally got it cut off. And I've had this knot forever, and then I finally realized because I might be doing some other things, and now particularly we're doing kind of television, sort of, kind of, not really. Ooh, look at the numbers. Paxton 39. What is the corner number? I can't read through that. Can you see that number? 44? So Cornyn is leading still. Wow. But he's not going to get to 50, so it doesn't really matter. But at least he's showing some strength. But I don't think that's going to hold. I cannot wait to watch this tonight. But let's read a couple of text messages and get Sam Hill out of here.
I'm convinced that the modern American people could not emotionally handle a repeat of the Vietnam War. We have become weak.
Well, I don't think there's any chance of this becoming Vietnam. I mean, for this to be Vietnam, we would have to be there for a very long time. And look at that. Look at that. Turn around, Chris Burdick. Turn around. Tell him. Go ahead and tell him. Tell him, Chris. Tell him.
Mr. Tallarico has just taken the lead at 52%.
He was down 8 points when I told you he was going to win. Don't tell me I'm not the political prophet on my 13-year anniversary. 8 points down. And I told you, don't trust me if I tell you to take the Rams over Seattle, but if I tell you that a candidate is going to win, he's going to win. David Valadale's going to win. Jasmine Baines is going to lose. Manpreet Kaur is going to lose. Listen to me. I'm not very bright. I've proven that. I gave away my money. I'm an idiot. But I know a little bit about politics. I know a little bit about journalism, and I know a little bit about history, and I know a little bit about presidents, and that's good enough to be a talk show host. I'm telling you. But that's bad news, though. Now that I'm sober and over myself, it's bad news. We wanted Jasmine Crockett because Tellerico could screw around and beat Cornyn or Ken Paxton. And if Democrats win Texas, going to be tough to win back the Senate. It's going to be tough because that's going to give them momentum. And I just think people are angry. And I think that Epic Fury, this operation, does not help. And we're just at 6. I hate to be blunt, but this thing is only going to get worse for the Republicans, even if it's successful. As the body count increases, that's all the Democrats were talking about last night, was the fact that it went from 3 to 6 in just less than 48 hours. We've doubled the amount of boys and girls that have died in this thing thus far. And again, as I said at the top of the show, there's never been a case in American history where we've conducted regime change with air power. And how are the people who are unarmed going up against the Revolutionary Guard supposed to have true change? How can they affect change from within when they're not armed? And the IRGC is armed to the teeth. I still think there's a glimmer of hope. Perhaps we can destroy their Navy and their air power so badly that they moderate. Like I said, I listened to the show last night where I said that there's a possibility of the seed of democracy. That might be one of the dumbest things I've ever said on this radio station. There's no chance of democracy emerging out of this nonsense because they're religious fanatics. But there is perhaps an opportunity for moderation, for them to simply re-examine their relationship in the Middle East now that they've pissed off all the Gulf Coast states. I don't know how they came up with that decision. Want to thank Danielle Colbert and, of course, Teresa Goldner. In the meantime, for Chris Burdick, I'm Ralph Bailey. On our 13th anniversary, we'll see you tomorrow.
This is AM 1180 KERN Green Acres. This is 96.1 FM.
That was a horrible
Online
show.
at KERNradio.com.
Horrible, horrible show. I was all over the place. That was a bad show. Which is weird because it comes after one of our best shows yesterday. But that was not a good broadcast, in my pessimistic opinion.
President Trump believes the war against Iran is worth a temporary spike in oil and gas prices. The president acknowledged that oil and gas prices were going to rise as the U.S. remains engaged in the ongoing Middle East conflict, but said prices will come down. If we have a little AAA reported the average price of a gallon of gas
Later, dude. See you guys. Thanks for listening. Tomorrow, Howard Marcus and the Van Alstynes from Adaptive Networks.
Iran with allies is pushing back at Israel, all states in the region, and targets tied to oil and gas.